Happy Football Friday to you. I am Ari Temkin along with James Westling here on Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. Heard on TuneIn and watched as a part of Big 12 Studios, which you can catch on YouTube by searching Big 12 Conference, on Roku, on Amazon Prime Video, on Tubi, Samsung TV Plus, just a select few of the options where you can find Big 12 Studios. Great to have you with us today and every day in your home for the Big 12 Conference, TuneIn, and Big 12 Studios. What's up, James? How are you? Happy Friday.
Man, I'm good. I'm excited for the weekend. It's a little bit weird not having a Big 12 game tonight because the Big 12 has had that Friday night stage, but it means a loaded, and I mean loaded, Saturday. So, ready to dive in, man. I'm excited.
How loaded?
Pretty loaded. Pretty loaded.
Like Sprouts peanut butter loaded, or?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely that.
As we heard on yesterday's show, James Westling, a big-time Sprouts peanut butter eater.
Huge fan. You know, I got home yesterday and my wife said, well, what'd you talk about? I said, we talked a little bit about Sprouts, which I knew would be the most exciting thing for her. But as I sit here today, I am consumed by my son's birthday is coming up.
Okay.
He's turning 7, which is a big number, lucky number 11. And he wants some football jerseys. So I'm trying to find like some vintage throwback Big 12 NFL football jerseys. But he wants very specific teams. He has plenty of Chiefs gear. He wants the Rams or the Chargers. So right now, I am on a Poshmark eBay hunt for a Darren Sproles or LaDainian Tomlinson Chargers jersey. So that's how I spent hours upon hours last night looking for these very specific.
Why Chargers or Rams?
I think he my dad's a Rams fan, so I think that's kind of where that started from. But I think he really just likes the uniforms. I think he likes the logos and the uniforms. At 7, I feel like that has to be kind of the driving factor. I'm not sure that it's any of the athletes or the play on the field or their record. I think he just really likes the Chargers bolt and how it looks. And
didn't know if he was just a big LA fan or what.
No, I think no ties to LA, ties to Kansas City, the area where we're from. And so, again, has plenty of Chiefs stuff. But for the Rams, I was thinking former Big 12 player or current Big 12 players that play for the Rams. If I wanted to go the throwback route, I couldn't think of anybody off the top of my head, but LaDainian Tomlinson came to mind for the Chargers, and then I completely forgot about Darren Sproles. He may have been at his best when he was with the Chargers.
Well, Mark Bulger, the Rams quarterback, was a West Virginia quarterback.
Yes.
Puka Nacua, obviously that's not a throwback, but he's the best receiver in football right now, and he went to BYU. Neither of those guys played for teams in the Big 12, but played for teams that are currently in the Big 12.
Right. Same thing for LT, LaDainian Tomlinson. Nacua, totally forgot that he went to BYU. That might be the play. That might be the play right there.
Yeah. Speaking of the National Football League, Cam Skattebo did Cam Skattebo things last night. Skattebo for the Giants led the 1-4 Giants to a 34-17 victory over the defending Super Bowl champion and 4-1 Philadelphia Eagles. It was the rookie show. Jackson Dart, the Ole Miss quarterback, and the former Arizona State running back, Cam Skattebo. Skattebo had 19 carries for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns, including the final score to put them up 34-17 following an interception by Jalen Hurts. And, you know, it's funny. He's Skattebo's on my fantasy team, and he was on my bench last night. So that third touchdown he scored was really tough to swallow. But, I mean, it was like first and goal from the 1 following a penalty, and it's like, well, this is as automatic as it gets for Skattebo. But very quietly, Skattebo's become one of the premier rookies in the National Football League, and it should be no surprise to us. It is still a surprise, though, to many people. I mean, this is a guy that when he was at Sacramento State, I mean, when he was in high school, nobody thought he could, you know, he'd be able to do what he's doing in college football. Then he went to Sac State. Nobody thought he could do it at the higher level that he did at Arizona State. Nobody thought he could do it at the NFL. Like, this is a guy that's just constantly been doubted, and he's constantly proving the doubters wrong in every step of the way.
Well, and he runs as hard as anybody in the league. And that has been what has made him so great since his Sacramento State days. We were watching highlights this morning of him recovering an onside kick and taking it through like 8 defenders to the house before he even got to Arizona State. And then you watch him in the college football playoff and that tremendous effort, and he is just completely gassed, but he left everything on the field in that football game. And if you look at what he's done this season, he kind of in some ways had his coming out party against the Chiefs. He had 60 yards in that game. He found the end zone, 6 yards a carry. And then since then, his workload has just continued to increase. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the 2 games that the Giants have won have been his 2 best efforts on paper. 80 yards in the NFL in today's era is a really nice football game. Last night he had 98. He had a fantastic game. And it's kind of that rookie combo with the Giants that has been a spark plug for their fan base that they have desperately needed for so long. And I thought it was a really interesting fit that you've got this West Coast guy in Cam Skattebo gets drafted by the Giants, and now he's almost in some ways instantly become the face of the franchise. Like
Colts hero. That's what he does.
It's him and Dart.
That's what Skattebo does, man. It's fun to watch. And again, I mean, I just remember, he's drafted. People are like, oh, he's getting drafted off the Texas game. It's like, you have not been paying attention. Like, this dude's going to continue to do what he does because that's just how he's always played.
And even if he was drafted off of the Texas game,
right,
that was a hell of a performance to get drafted from. But then you go look at his body of work, and he's top 5 in the NCAA in rushing, and he's leading the Big 12, and he's averaging well over 120 yards per game. He is a one-man wrecking crew, and he's been that at every level.
All right, we've got a lot to get to today. James Westling on social, at James Westling. I am Ari Temkin on social, at Ari Sports. Great to have you with us today and every day, and you're home for the Big 12 Conference. Tune in, and you can watch us on Big 12 Studios. Some pretty significant news that came out late last night out of Tempe with Arizona State. But, James, big picture with Week 7 in the Big 12, this feels like a gut check week. And really a stretch of games where we're going to see who the real legitimate contenders are in the Big 12. This is a stretch. So Arizona State will play teams with a combined record of 18-3 over the next 4 games. BYU will also play a 4-game stretch against teams with a cumulative record of 18-3. Utah will play teams over the next 4 games with a cumulative record of 15-6, but the 6 is mostly due to the 4 losses from Colorado. 3 of their next 4 for Utah is Arizona State, BYU, and Cincinnati. Texas Tech as well has a really difficult stretch here. So this month stretch in October for Big 12 contenders will give us a much better sense of who the legitimate contenders are in this conference.
Very much so. And I think it starts tomorrow, Week 7. All these really, really good matchups over the next 2 or 3 weeks with those records that you outlined there. I think tomorrow a lot of questions will be answered about this league and how top-heavy it is compared to the competitive balance. For example, Cincinnati, if Cincinnati is for real, which we think very much that they are, they cannot lose at home to UCF. But there's a lot of layers to that football game because it's the 11th straight matchup. It's the Old American Conference to the Big 12 rivalry showdown. And then Iowa State at Colorado. Iowa State is a football team that started 5-0. They lose 1 game at Cincinnati in a hostile environment. And all of a sudden, they are completely out of the conversation, out of the picture. At least that's the perception. If Iowa State's going to remain in the picture, they cannot lose this football game. You cannot lose on the road to a team that's 0-3 in Big 12 play. That would be competitive balance if a team at the bottom beats a team at the top. So that's a big matchup. Same thing for TCU. TCU at Kansas State. TCU's 4-1. If TCU is a legitimate contender in the Big 12 to get to Arlington, you can't go on the road and lose to a 2-4 football team. You're expected to win those games. Just like Texas Tech is expected to beat Kansas, and just like BYU, if they're going to be a contender, outside looking in last year on the college football playoff, this is a major chance for them to make a statement. So we will find out, I think, starting tomorrow, just how top-heavy this league is, or is it more of that competitive balance? Is it Texas Tech in a league of their own with everybody else? We'll know when we sit back in these chairs on Monday.
Yeah, and just looking at the next 4 games for basically most of the teams that have just one loss or less in the conference, I mean, Cincinnati probably has the easiest stretch of games, but it's just a combination of Iowa State, BYU, Arizona State, Texas Tech. Like, all those teams are playing each other. And so when I mentioned that, BYU is playing 4 games against teams that are cumulatively 18-3, so too is Arizona State. I mean, it beyond like Cincinnati, Iowa State has in their next 4, obviously Colorado tomorrow, and then BYU, Arizona State, and TCU. So, I mean, I think you're right. Like, tomorrow is when it starts, but by November, we're going to know who's really at the top of this conference, and if this is a league of parity, to your point.
And I'm glad you brought up Cincinnati, because they do have the easiest path in October compared to everybody else in their schedules. They've got UCF at home. Then they play at Oklahoma State next Saturday on ESPN2. Then they come back home for a Baylor team that has been lights out offensively, but they're in the 1-teens in just about every single defensive metric. So if you're Cincinnati and you're a true contender in the Big 12, and I'm talking to get to the Big 12 championship game, you have to win those 3 football games. And if you're 7-1 going into that game at Utah to kick off November, with all these teams in conference play, there's going to be so much movement in the AP Top 25. If Cincinnati is 7-1, they'll be close to the top 10. They'll be sitting at around 11, 12, maybe 13 based off of what else happens. But that's about where Iowa State was last year when they were 7-1. I think they were 11th going into that 9th game. So Cincinnati has an opportunity to make a huge leap, not just in terms of keeping pace with Texas Tech and BYU and Arizona State in terms of the standings, but I'm talking big picture, college football playoff, AP Top 25, which is really exciting for them and their fan base.
All right, some significant news that hit last night. So we saw on the initial injury report, availability update, if you will, that Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt was listed as probable. So too were many other impactful players for Arizona State. Well, late last night, news came down that he was downgraded from probable to doubtful. And then news started to trickle out beyond that. Chris Cartman from SunDevilSource.com reporting that Leavitt has been playing the last few games with an undisclosed injury. He got some rest during this bye week, and they figured maybe he'd respond well to the rest, but that has not been the case. And at least from what's being widely reported, it's not highly likely that he will play tomorrow. So, I mean, pretty significant, James, for a guy that, at least publicly, we had no sense of any injury whatsoever. We now found out is dealing with an injury that has him downgraded and most likely out for the game against Utah on Saturday. This is a guy that missed a game last year, a loss to Cincinnati. If he doesn't play, it's going to be Jeff Sims, who's the 23-year-old former Georgia Tech and Nebraska quarterback, and that completely changes the potential in this game. In fact, the line has moved from 5.5 to 7.5 in favor of Utah now with the news around Leavitt.
Yeah, a massive jump with the spread. This is devastating for Arizona State. I don't think that this injury and the impact that it has on this football team can be understated in any way. Number one, you're playing a very good football team on the road. The one game that he missed last year, the game that Jeff Sims started, Arizona State lost that football game at Cincinnati. This is a much better team, this version of Utah, than that Cincinnati team was last year. So that's number one. It's going to be tough to just flat out win this football game without him. And then secondly, essentially, this could potentially knock Arizona State out of the college football playoff picture as an at-large bid. I would say that their only path would be to win the Big 12 championship game, which is similar to last year. last year, had they not won the Big 12 title game, they would not have been in the college football playoff. They would have been sitting at home. Same thing, I think, will play out this year if they don't win this game. Now, Jeff Sims is better, I think, than he will be last year in that game because he's been in the system for multiple years. We know about his background. He's big and he's athletic. He's 6'4", 220, started games at Georgia Tech, transfers to Nebraska, gets benched midseason, kind of has a mixed bag of results. And then he's been he's been kind of he knows his role as the backup quarterback. Like, there's no competition. He is stuck there. So now with his chance to start and win a big game, it's a huge opportunity for him, but it is a crushing blow when you think about all the late game heroics that Sam Leavitt has already had this season for Arizona State.
Sims has a career turnover rate of 6.1% of dropbacks, which means it's basically a turnover-worthy play every 16 passes, which is bottom 10 nationally. And then he has a lot of fumble issues, 17 career fumbles, 10 lost between Georgia Tech, Nebraska, and now Arizona State. So, not a lot of reason for optimism here. They're going to be a team, though, that's going to lean on their run game. Jalen Moss, who we haven't seen play since, I believe, week 1 against Northern Arizona, looks like he'll be set to play. So at the very least, Arizona State will have kind of their full cater of receivers and pass catching options. But this is a significant downgrade for Arizona State at the quarterback position, going up against one of the best defenses in the Big 12. That's James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. Plenty more to come on that game in particular, Arizona State and Utah game we have not yet previewed. We've also got Kalani Sitake, the head coach of BYU, coming up in advance of BYU's game tomorrow against Arizona. Plus, Brett Yormark was with us yesterday on the debut of Big 12 Today on Big 12 Studios, so we'll hear what Yormark had to say. On the way next, though, who is the best quarterback in the Big 12? With James, I'm Ari. This is Big 12 Radio. Big 12 Today on TuneIn and now watched on Big 12 Studios.
Toward the end zone for a touchdown. Off the turnover, the Knights capitalize, and they are out to a
Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today, along with James Westling. I am Ari Temkin. Thanks for hanging out with us today and every day. And you're home for all things Big 12. Tune in. And Big 12 Studios. All right. Barstool Big 12, a Twitter account, posed a good question yesterday, listing 6 quarterbacks and says, who's the best quarterback in the Big 12 so far? You've got Sawyer Robertson, who's over 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Brennan Sorsby's at 1,500 yards with 17 touchdowns and 1 pick. Jalen Daniels is at 1,700 yards with 17 touchdowns and 2 picks. Rocco Becht, 1,400 yards, 16 and 2. Josh Hoover, 1,500 yards, 17 and 4. And Noah Fafita at 1,300, almost 1,400 yards and 16 and 3. So some pretty sterling numbers from those 6 guys. And that doesn't even mention Sam Levitt, who's had some ups and downs this year, but was the player of the year in the conference last year. James, you want to take a stab at it?
Well, I think this is splitting hairs between all these Big 12 quarterbacks. And this is the year, the league of the quarterback. Sawyer Robertson at Baylor leads the league in passing yards. He leads the league in touchdowns. He leads the league in yards per game. But Jalen Daniels has been the most efficient quarterback in the Big 12, the Kansas signal caller. Sawyer Robertson is 11th in the Big 12 in completion percentage. Devin Dampier at Utah leads the league. So I think in terms of who is truly the best quarterback, it's very subjective. Do you prefer a pocket passer like a Josh Hoover or even a Sawyer Robertson? Or do you want a guy who's a little more dual threat? And then we didn't even mention Rocco Becht, who's got 16 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Like, the QBR between these guys is so nip and tuck. For me, if I'm picking one guy, the best all-around quarterback in the Big 12, the guy that I think throws the best ball, the guy that I think is the most accurate, and the guy that I think doesn't have as much around him as some of the other quarterbacks in the league, it's Josh Hoover at TCU for me. He's second in the Big 12 in passing yards, only behind Robertson. He's throwing for over 300 yards a game. Anytime TCU needs a completion through the air, he delivers. It's never on him. Even the interceptions in the Arizona State game, one of those turnovers was on him, but the other one was an interception that was batted in the air by his receiver and picked off by the defense. I think he is the best, most pure quarterback in the Big 12. And if TCU had any semblance of a rushing offense, if their offensive line was a little bit better, and if they had a little bit more physical defense, I think they'd be national championship type football team because of just how good Hoover is. So I go Josh Hoover.
Yeah, and I see that. I mean, he is an elite passer. I think part of the running issues, quite frankly, are on Hoover, that or the offensive schematics. But, I mean, I think you hit it on the head, too, there in terms of their offensive line. Like, there's no question that the interior of their offensive line does not make their inside zone work because it's getting blown up. I go Rocco Becht. And, I mean, I think part of this is who's the guy you want with the ball in your hands at the end of a game if you're down? And, like, that's the first thought I had on this. Is like, who's the guy you want the ball in his hands, the game on the line? That's Rocco Becht to me. It's a guy that has a lot of game-winning drives. He has a great feel for pressure. He's never out of a game. He is a short memory. Like, there are just a lot of things about Becht. Like, he, to me, presents like an NFL passer. Of all of the guys that we're looking at in this conference, to me, he's the guy that has the most upside in terms of an NFL prospect. A lot of these guys do. I'm not trying to say he's the only one. But Rocco Becht is my answer here. Now, there's a lot of other ways to create a criteria, a category. I mean, Sawyer Robertson's put up some ridiculous numbers, and he's also a legitimate dual threat who is a load to tackle. Hoover is an elite passer. There is not a throw he cannot make. I mean, we haven't even talked about Baron Morton. Morton wasn't even on this list.
Right.
And Morton's at 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns on the season. I mean, the thing holding Morton back is he hasn't played enough fourth quarters. and probably enough games. Fafita is really interesting here because it feels like Fafita and Jalen Daniels are sort of surprises on this. And then there's Sorsby. Sorsby's got to be the biggest surprise on this list, right?
I think he's been the biggest surprise this season. Absolutely. And he was somebody that I considered best all-around quarterback. Again, this is very subjective because do you prefer more of a pocket passer or do you want more of a dual threat guy? In this hypothetical, I think a lot of it is what type of system you're running. There are so many quarterbacks in this league that are perfect for the offensive fit and scheme that program, that team is operating with. So best all-around quarterback, I think for me it's different than who do you want in the ball with the ball in their hands, down 6 with 2 minutes to go in a football game. Who is that guy? For me, that guy isn't Josh Hoover. Now, over the course of 4 quarters, that's the quarterback I would want. But if I need a Big 12 quarterback to lead my football team down the field with 2 minutes to go, down by 6, and we have to have a touchdown, my pick isn't even on this list. I'm going Sam Leavitt at Arizona State. Sam Leavitt doesn't have the jaw-dropping stats in terms of efficiency in the Big 12. He's middle of the pack. Completion percentage, he's towards the bottom, 12th out of the 16 starting quarterbacks. He has 8 passing touchdowns, barely over 200 yards a game. So the numbers aren't there. But with 2 minutes to go in a football game, Sam Leavitt is a guy that I am most confident can lead my team down the field and find a way to get a touchdown. And part of that has to do with his scrambling ability. I think that he lulls teams to sleep over the course of a game. And then we've seen him do it twice already this season. Arizona State had to get in scoring position against Baylor. They had to get in scoring position against TCU, and he did both. Sawyer Robertson is the other guy I would look at there because he did it against SMU. He did it against Kansas State. He has all the numbers. But there are still things about his game that I think he can clean up. Like his completion percentage for all the yards that he throws for, he's 11th in the Big 12 in completion percentage. He did not have a very good game against Samford. He made some questionable decisions. Decision-making, all the intangibles, I go Leavitt for that 2-minute drill, that 2-minute offense.
Why would you not want Hoover? If you think he's the best over the course of a 4-quarter football game, then why would he not be the best in the final 2 minutes of that 4-quarter football game?
Because I think he's a little too one-dimensional compared to Leavitt. If there's 2 minutes to go and guys aren't open downfield, can Josh Hoover take off with the football in his hands and pick up 20, 25, 30 yards? Sam Leavitt is a guy that I think is more, he can do both. So I think in that hurry-up, up-tempo, let's go, that's where I trust Leavitt a little bit more. It's more so because of his legs versus him as a passer.
Who's been the biggest surprise at quarterback this year for you so far?
I think there's 2. Number 1, it's definitely Brendan Sorsby and the season that he's had, especially after that Week 1 performance against Nebraska. Number 2, I'd probably go Bear Bachmeier at BYU. I mean, this is a true freshman, and they have eased him into the offense, and they've given him a little bit more freedom week after week and game after game. And now, Kalani Sitake will tell us in a little bit, he's no longer considered a freshman. I think his dual threat ability, but also he's a better pure passer than I had anticipated. His decision-making is much sharper than I thought it would be for a true freshman quarterback. He's 3rd in the Big 12 in completion percentage, hits on 69% of his throws. He's got 7 touchdowns to 1 interception. He's not making mistakes, which was a huge question that I had coming into the season. Can a true freshman will his team to a victory? And I think we saw that against West Virginia.
Yeah, he's a gamer. He's in complete command. He does not present like a true freshman. He does not present like a 19-year-old that's starting in college football for the first time.
Am I missing anybody? Who's your biggest surprise?
I mean, should we be surprised by Noah Fafita and Jalen Daniels having bounce-back seasons?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, Bachmeier is the answer here. I think we knew Sorsby had it in him. What Bachmeier is doing is incredible. He was playing high school football a year ago. He was, getting live bullets for the first time in BYU's offense in fall camp. As a 19-year-old. He shouldn't be doing what he's doing. And, it's funny, too, because BYU's about to hit a really tough stretch here. They're going to play a lot of good defenses and good teams. And it's like, what should reasonable expectations be? Like, if Bayer has some bad games here, to me, that won't say anything about him overall. I wouldn't come back here and be like, oh, man, he's terrible now. They need to bench him. Like, that's part of the growing pains that you're going to have with a true freshman quarterback. So I almost expect him to have a few down games here in this next 4-game stretch for BYU.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest disappointment?
I have two guys that come to mind. I think you start with Avery Johnson at Kansas State. And to be fair, I don't think he's been bad. He has 10 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. His decision-making has been much better, but he's in his 3rd year in the program. And if Kansas State's going to compete for a Big 12 championship, which was the expectations coming into the season, he had to be the guy. Completion percentage in the Big 12, he's 13th out of the 16 starting quarterbacks. So, sure, he's throwing for career numbers, but also, and this maybe isn't all on him. The fact that he's 24th in the Big 12 in rushing, when Kansas State has very much had their quarterback heavily involved in their ground game, that's not enough. And again, that's not all on him. That's a lot of Kansas State's plan this season has been to protect him, but he's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's by far the fastest quarterback in the Big 12. He might be the fastest among the Big 12 running backs. 24th is way too low. I thought he'd be a top 15, top 10 rusher this season in the Big 12. And Kansas State's 2-4. And when you're 2-4, that is a position, fair or not, that a lot of that stems from quarterback play. And he hasn't been the best quarterback on the field in multiple games this season. I think it's Avery.
What was the passing stat you brought up that has him 13th out of 16 teams in the Big 12?
Completion percentage.
What was the issue with him last year?
Accuracy. Completion percentage.
Yeah.
So he's throwing less interceptions. He only has 2. But the completion percentage is still too low. And he's completing 63% of his passes. Again, it's a career best. He has been much better than he was last year. But Kansas State needed a bigger leap from him to go from a 9-4 team that was 5-4 in Big 12 play to competing for a Big 12 championship, and they have not gotten it.
He's got 13 overall touchdowns, which includes 3 on the ground. I think you're right here. The answer is Avery Johnson. I don't know what the target completion percentage needs to be, but I'd say anywhere between 65 and 70%.
Yeah, most offensive coordinators want to see at least north of 65%. And that's changed a lot in the last 5 or 10 years.
Right.
It used to be if you complete more than half of your passes, you're okay.
Totally.
But that number has gone up and up and up.
Well, that's partially due to the fact that you have the proliferation of the West Coast ideals in football, which is short passes, get the ball out quickly, so that leads to a higher completion percentage. I'm not sure that that's a part of K-State's offense, right? There's not a lot of quick throws. They're trying to take advantage of Avery's arm down the field, so more explosive passes. Yeah, I mean, the answer here is Avery Johnson, I think, undoubtedly. Now, you can also, Connor Wigman, Caden Salter, those guys disappointments?
With Salter, I would say yes. I thought he would be a little bit better based off his pedigree and all the schools that were coming after him. He's a veteran guy. Connor Wegman, no. I think he's been very good. Houston is not a team that is going to throw the football 30 or 40 times a game. He's been efficient. I don't have any issues with the season that he's had.
59% completion percentage for former 5-star Connor Wegman.
Yeah, that is a little bit low. I also think that
not 1,000 yards yet. Now, that's, to your point, probably a product of the offense.
And him getting knocked out early in the Texas Tech game. But also, I think that in the case of Avery Johnson and Connor Wegman both, they have excellent tight ends. They have one of the best tight end rooms in the Big 12. but they don't have the playmaking receivers that some of these other school has. Jace Brown at Kansas State is their best receiver, and I think a very reliable guy. But after him, like I look at some of these programs, Baylor has 4 or 5 guys that would start just about anywhere else in the conference. Kansas with Emmanuel Henderson and Pickett. Arizona State with Jordan Tyson and then 2 or 3 other guys. There is so much more depth. BYU has 3 guys that would probably start just about anywhere else in the league. Same thing for TCU. I think there's a pretty big gap between these teams at the top and at the bottom at that wide receiver position. I don't see the playmakers at Houston or Kansas State or Oklahoma State. I was going to throw Zane Flores into the mix because we've been hearing about this kid for 3 years. The Nebraska High School Player of the Year. Everybody wanted him. Ridiculous numbers. I think you could put him in the camp of he's been a little bit disappointing this season.
A little bit? I mean, yeah, he's just not good.
And again, how much of that is him? How much of it is everything going on with the coaching staff and the transfer portal? But
at some point there's a level of circumstance, but he's completing 55% of his passes, 696 yards, 0 touchdowns. Zane Flores still awaiting his first career passing touchdown. He also has 3 interceptions. I'd say he's easily the worst quarterback in the Big 12. I believe he was a 4-star, so when you look at Connor Wigman as a 5-star, Avery Johnson as a 4-star, Caden Salter was a 4-star, Zane Flores was a 4-star. Interesting. The guys at the bottom of the conference, the quarterback position, are all 4 and 5 stars.
Well, and I think a couple other guys that if we were giving letter grades, guys that have been better this season than the expectations may be coming in. I would throw Noah Fafita, Arizona, into the conversation. I would throw Taven Jackson at UCF. When he's been on the field, UCF has been a very prolific offense. He had a monster game against North Carolina. But the guys that haven't been as good or had to be, and maybe the expectations were a little bit unfair, like Avery Johnson had to be a dude this year for Kansas State to get to the Big 12 championship game. Connor Wegman has to be a dude for Houston to break through. And then Devin Dampier is the other name that we haven't brought up. If you were giving Devin Dampier a letter grade, he's completing a league best 73% of his passes. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. What was the big question mark we had about Devin Dampier coming into this year? Can he limit his mistakes, his turnovers? He had 12 touchdowns and 12 picks a season ago at New Mexico. Well, here in the Big 12, he's done that. He's been very efficient. And I think because Utah's had a lighter schedule, we all have that Texas Tech game just burnt into our brain. But Devin Dampier, I still think, is a top half quarterback in this Big 12 conference, and don't sleep on Utah.
Yeah, Utah is really interesting because it feels like their one loss has skewed a lot of the perception of them. Plenty more to come on Utah as we preview the Arizona State-Utah game, which is one of the best this weekend. With James Westlake, I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn, and you can watch us live as a part of Big 12 Studios and have your comments heard and read, perhaps on the air over on YouTube, which we are checking out those YouTube comments, so keep those coming. On the way next, BYU coach Kalani Sitake. We'll hear what Kalani has to say in advance of BYU's game against Arizona, the best defense their true freshman quarterback has faced. That's next. Kalani Sitake, Big 12 Radio, your home for all things Big 12.
Third and long. This team's been fighting uphill, trying to come from behind for a month. Now with the lead, they're getting a little wobbly. But a downfield shot to Ayuk. A foot race. They won't get him. Wow.
Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8 a to 11 a Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12. TuneIn Premium is the ultimate playbook. From live play-by-play of the biggest leagues all season long.
Lee looks for someone, finds the right someone. Curry knocks it down. Tatum lines up the three and nails it.
To live sports talk radio to keep you in the game in between games.
Because people who won't watch games, they hear the voice.
The sports action you crave comes alive with TuneIn Premium. Live games, fewer ads, endless action. Upgrade to Premium to get in the game.
TuneIn has got all your favorite audio in one spot.
We are seeking consular assistance that has not.
So you can enjoy listening to anything, anywhere. From breaking news.
It started with a crack and then it started to sink. And now all this sinking has just been
to live sports action.
Here's one slammed into left field.
And your favorite music. TuneIn has got it all. Discover new stations in the app or ask your device to play TuneIn.
This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, exclusively on TuneIn. And we are so pleased to be joined right now by the head football coach of the BYU Cougars, the undefeated BYU Cougars. Kalani Sitake is joining us here on Big 12 Radio. First off, Coach, you got a pretty big birthday coming up Friday.
Yeah. You get my age. Yeah, big 5-0, but nobody cares. We'll be on the road. And I think after you, when you have kids and a family, the birthdays don't really matter. Same with Christmas. It's all about everybody else. So I think we'll just move on like it's a normal day when that happens. But thank you for recognizing it.
Such a Kalani Sitake answer, by the way, which, of course, I turned 40 this year. I was born in 85. You're born in 75. So I feel like, we're fivers. It's a big deal to turn 50. I mean, you're right. Birthdays, especially when you have kids, it's more about them. I totally agree with you. But it feels like 50 is a big deal.
It does. I mean, I think I got this job when I was 40. So, that's just, I think it's easy to hear. I mean, to kind of know the timeline of how long I've been here now. So going to my 10th year, it'll go by quickly, just so you know. For a former 40-year-old 10 years ago, this next 10 years will fly by for you.
Kalani, most coaches, it's one day at a time, where your feet are, 1 week at a time. You have a really difficult game on Saturday, and you're about to hit a really difficult stretch, most difficult of the season, in terms of the games you played. How do you approach that as a coach? I mean, is it just that, 1 week at a time, or do you have to, at least as the coach, have this sort of big picture in mind while also being very, micro focused on what's happening in the here and the now?
No, I think it'd be foolish for us not to know exactly what's coming, and what's ahead of our looking at the schedule as a whole. There's a reason why they released the entire schedule, so I think it's okay to have the entire schedule and look at it, and then, but also be focused on the here and now. I think that's. I mean, we're going in mid-season. We're going to Game 6 right now. So we when you understand the whole season, and you understand that how your body's going to react to it, I think it's key for us to say, hey, listen, you're not going to feel the same in Game 6 as you are in Game 1. And so you have to understand that physically, mentally, even though as the wear and tear of the season starts to take form, everyone's going through the same thing. And so, but I want these guys to be ultra focused on the here and now. It's like you have ideas of what you want to be when you get older for them. I don't want them thinking about when they're our age, or when they're 40 or 50. But I want them to anticipate that that's going to be a life full of happiness and joy. But that doesn't do you any good right now if you're not focused on what you're trying to accomplish in the present day. So I do believe that these guys are ready, and they're accepting the fact that we still need to play better ball. There's a lot of things that we could do on our end, and the time that we can use this week in practice to improve and make sure that we're at our best when we go into Tucson for that game.
I always, in football, when you win, your flaws are magnified. Or, when you win, your flaws are hidden. When you lose, your flaws are magnified. But the flaws are there regardless. How do you just mentioned your team still struggling in some areas. Like, how do you look and find those flaws and get guys to buy in and believe that those are things they need to fix, even when you're 5-0?
Well, we're always looking for ways to improve, and we're committed to our culture, which is love and learn. We're always trying to find ways to learn and get better. And so whether you win or lose, that doesn't really matter. It's a great learning experience. And for some people, it's like, the school of hard knocks can be a great lesson for you, but I don't think we have to go to such. I mean, we don't have to go through a crazy adversity to learn lessons. We can learn from other people's mistakes too, and we can trust and have faith in what's being taught to us. But that's why I think that whether win or lose, you're trying to find ways to improve. That's just what we do anyways. I mean, that's how we approach every day. That's how we approach every play. That's what I love about what Bear did this last week. It's not that he made mistakes. I mean, we can always sit there and get upset about the mistakes. He threw an interception and he had a fumble. But what I like is the next drive after he scored touchdowns. And so, that's a next play mentality that I wish I could take credit for as a head coach, but he came to us that way. And it's been amazing that it's whenever you have your leaders and your quarterback that's bought into the next play mentality and moving on and learning from the mistakes, but then actually trying to find ways to not let that happen again, then it's a pleasure to coach and it's a pleasure to teach.
Kalani Sitake, BYU head football coach, joining us here on Big 12 Radio. What stands out to you about Bear Bachmeier? Like, what's the number one thing that comes to mind when I say that name?
Well, I think that the poise that he has, and you look at his composure, just in the game, he's never too high, never too low. I've said that many times before, but it's he's always like, I mean, he's excited when he's out there playing, but when he comes off the sideline, he's looking at the tablet, he's trying to find ways to get better. He's talking, he's communicating to his teammates, and that's just, man, as a young kid, I mean, just a freshman, it's super special. But I give a lot of credit to his upbringing. It helps when your brother's a quarterback, Hank Bachmeier, and your older brother's a receiver on the team, and then it helps just that he's such an easygoing personality that I think is always looking for ways to get better and to help and help his teammates. And that's awesome when you have a quarterback, that your quarterback, that's willing to learn from the other people, from the receivers and the upperclassmen on our program.
It's rare for a Power 4 program to have a true freshman starting quarterback. Probably even rarer for a guy that was on a different campus for spring football to be doing it. When did you know? Like, when did you have a sense of, like, this guy could actually start day one for us?
Well, I don't think anybody goes into the year thinking, like, let's find a way to start a true freshman who didn't play for us in the spring and just showed up in the summer, and that his first time getting snaps is going to be in fall camp. But we have to be true to what we do, and that's our competition. We want our players to compete for their spots, and so if I only know one way, and the best play, and so when you make that statement, you have to be willing to when a true freshman earns it, even after experienced upperclassmen have been in the fight and for in the competition for the starting spot. When he earns it, you have to give it to him. That's just, otherwise, then what's the standard? If you don't have the standard where people can't accomplish it, and it's you're right, it's very rare because it's never been done here before at BYU, of all places where quarterbacks were slinging the ball way back in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, that's rare that he is actually the first true freshman to start the season, and so the key was just, if you earn it, then you deserve it, and that's really at every position. It's not just the quarterback position, but he did it, and everyone knew it. The teammates and the people that competing with him knew it. What I do appreciate is the guys in the quarterback room have been there. They're his biggest supporters, you know. So we have a really cool thing going here, and I have to give a lot of credit to our coaches, to Aaron Roderick and Matt Mitchell and the coaches on the offensive side, creating that type of culture where people want what's best for the team, even if they're not the ones taking the snaps under center.
You guys are loaded all around. Bear steps into a really good situation where you've got really good offensive line, running game, wide receivers, defense. This is one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the conference last year, and it's already playing that way so far this year. Two guys we saw that were not able to finish the games this past week. It did not look great for Jack Kelly coming off the field. Glasgow, maybe, in terms of just the layman side, watching, it didn't look as bad. But, I mean, those are two critical guys, and despite any depth you might have, I mean, those are two of the best linebackers in college football. You have the availability report released later Wednesday. I'm just curious for how they're doing and what your anticipation is with both of those injuries.
Well, we'll take advantage of all the time we can get from the recovery. We played the game on Friday, and so looking at it yesterday, I mean, it's one thing to be healthy and ready to go by Saturday. It's another thing to practice, and all those guys have practiced quite a bit, but it's impossible to have them kind of going into the game not getting practice reps. So they're going to need to practice today and tomorrow, and then we can get a better look at it. So right now, it's really too early for us to even say they're not out for sure yet. So we'll find out today and tomorrow, and then when we release, we'll have a good feeling for what their chances are for being on the field.
You've got playmakers all over the field on defense, but what do those two guys do that's different?
Yeah, I mean the two guys. First of all, they're used to playing, on the field together. and so they're used to controlling the front seven, but also connecting with the back end, and so and that's difficult to replace guys like that. But I am actually really impressed with the guys that did finish the game, and they did a great job doing it. So we have athletes all over the place, but you're right. I think what's unique is that they're both leaders on this team, not just on the defensive side. They're leaders, and I don't know if you saw, but on the sideline, if you were able to show it, but they're still leading. So they're not. It's not like they were just sitting on the back on the bench. They were up and they're involved. They're talking to the teammates. They're talking to everybody. They're encouraging the offense and special teams, and as they started working through, and then Glasgow jumped in there and played the last snap of on the hands team on the onside kickoff. So um, we'll see. I think it's tough to tell because we know that they want to play, but my job isn't to put them at risk. My job is to do what's best for them and to even save them from themselves. I know they're willing. They're such great teammates. They want to do whatever they can for the team, but I have to consider their future too.
Yeah, and obviously the long-term future, but also like the future of this season. And college football has changed so much in the last few years. When you look at the playoff, obviously BYU with what you guys did last year, and you have aspirations of that this year potentially being in the playoff. You got to play 16, 17 football games potentially. I mean, that is the depth needed, and I think long term is so much different than it used to be when you knew you were playing 12, 13 at most. Now you think about it, you get to the end of the year, you played a Big 12 championship game, you played a first round game. Like it's just a lot of football games. It's a lot of physical wear and tear over the course of a season. And at this point, we just haven't seen college football teams have to play this many games, like we're seeing them have to play now.
Yeah, and that's I mean, and not just the games, but like 9 conference games.
Yeah.
That's a load, and that's I mean that's it doesn't really matter. All 16 teams can play, and they're all well coached and they all have great fan bases. So nothing's an easy play, in the Big 12. And if I'm being honest, like the college football is tough. I mean, we have to consider if you're doing things right, you're going to play a lot of games, and so I hope we get to that point. We do know that we wanted to develop our depth on our team at all positions. We feel good about the depth. I feel good about the depth at linebacker. I feel like we're going to be good players there. I mean that obviously we'll lack the experience that we've had there, but with Glasgow and Jack, but when we do get them back, then they'll be ready to go. But it's just right now it's hard to tell. We still need to get these young. I mean, the young guys got just as many reps in practice as the veterans, and so and I like the fact that they finished the game and they had a great game. When you talk about the guys that filled in, Ace Kafusi and Miles Hall and Cialia Sarah is a starter for us already. He's one of the three backers originally. So and we feel good about the rest of the guys, Max Alford and them. So it just sucks because you want to go into the games with all
Yeah.
your best guys but I don't want I do like our depth. I don't want to keep testing it though,
Right.
but we'll just keep working at it and see what happens. But everyone's going through the same things though. And this is a
Totally.
tough conference. It's a physical conference, and so the games aren't easy, and they're going to take its toll. And everyone's going to be tested with their depth because, like you said, there's so many games to play.
Last thing here, Coach Lyons Sataki giving us some time here on Big 12 Radio, and we're very appreciative of his time. Arizona, this is for my money the best defense that Bear will have faced all year. The best defense you guys are going up against, an aggressive defense that has looked really good so far. What are you seeing on tape? What do you think they're going to throw at Bear in this game?
Well, I think they're going to do a lot of different things. I mean, Danny Gonzalez is a really good coach. I've known him for a long time, and I know the line that he comes from in terms of coaching.
Mm.
So he goes back to the Rocky Long days and things like that. But he's unique because he can utilize his skills. So I mean, that's what I think he's doing great this year is using his skill set and the players on his team that are just kind of okay. What scheme can we do that's going to put it in the best position to have success? And that's what he's doing. And he's super bright. And you watch the guys that are aggressive, but they're fundamentally sound. And so it's cool to watch on film. We're gonna have to be at our best. I mean, it's not going to be easy. And you know I know our quarterback's a freshman, but I mean, he's got 5 games under his belt now. So it's like he grew up a lot last week, and I'm looking forward to see how much he's grown this week. And I think it'll be a good challenge. It'll be a good matchup. But that's when you get to see what you really got. I think he's responded to the right. I mean, to adversity and to all that. I mean, we were in a difficult environment at East Carolina and then
Yeah.
at Colorado, and then turning around and play a day early here at home against West Virginia. So nothing's easy, and they're all physical defenses. But I think that's been really good for his learning process throughout the season, and this is going to be another opportunity for him to learn.
Yeah, well said. I mean, we cannot downplay East Carolina. It's a tough place to play. It's long travel, and then at Colorado on the road, coming from behind. He's been super impressive. I mean, I don't think enough of the country is talking about the true freshman quarterback that wears number 47, named Bear Bachmeyer, who's leading BYU and the Cougs to a 5-0 record. Appreciate your time. Good luck on Saturday, and thanks again. And happy birthday, buddy. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, and always a pleasure to be on with you. Thank you so much.
Big 12 Game Day with TJ Reeves, which you can hear each and every Big 12 Game Day. And then tomorrow evening. BYU Arizona is the second game of the week on Big 12 Radio. You can get all of the games across the football and men's and women's basketball season as part of TuneIn Premium. But if you want the freebies, you want some of the access to the games, we've got two for you as part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn today or tomorrow. The 11 o'clock, 12 Eastern time kick between Cincinnati and UCF, and then the nightcap, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern between BYU and Arizona. All right, let's check in on some headlines across the Big 12. One of the big stories that we talked about already was the status of Sam Leavitt, the Arizona State quarterback, was downgraded from probable to doubtful, and the report surfacing that he's been playing with an undisclosed injury for the last few weeks. They thought maybe he could rest up and get healthy during the bye week, but so far that has not been the case, James. Also on this front, Dylan Edwards will be out for the game tomorrow against TCU. Edwards broke out a couple of weeks ago in a win for K-State where it looked like they had gotten back on track against UCF, only to leave the game last week early, and now it looks like he's not going to be available to play on Saturday.
He's listed as questionable on the player availability report. But to your point, it does sound like he's not expected to play against TCU, which is going to have a huge impact on this football game. Kansas State, when he was healthy and on the field against UCF and he had his normal expected workload, he was really good. And the Kansas State offense, Avery Johnson was more efficient. He didn't have to throw the ball as much. I don't know that there are – I mean, these injuries are massive to Sam Leavitt, the quarterback at Arizona State, and Dylan Edwards, the running back at K-State, because they're so impactful. I mean, I don't know that there's one guy for his team that means more than these two dudes. So if he's out against TCU, that's going to have a huge impact on that football game. But then there are reports that, you know, with his injuries and is he going to play or is he going to have to sit? There were initially reports yesterday that he was sitting and he was going to enter the transfer portal. Well, those are not true. Don't believe everything you read. Pete Nakos from On3 reported on his report that Dylan Edwards is currently not expected to redshirt this season. They got in touch with his agent. The transfer portal speculation that had been on social media all throughout the day is not true. He's excited to get back on the field. He wants to be on the field, and Kansas State needs him on the field. So not in the portal, not going to sit the rest of the year, but definitely questionable and maybe even doubtful against TCU tomorrow.
Yeah, Pete Thamel reporting he's not going to play. Yesterday, Pete Thamel from ESPN reporting that he will be out for the game. I think, I said this yesterday, I continue to say it, I think the coaching staff at K-State misevaluated Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards has home run potential. He is not an every down back.
And on a 3rd and 11, Kansas State converts. Here's Dylan Edwards. Good space player, gets out to the edge and through a tackle and out around the 35 for a first down.
He's just
action they're reading.
Back. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's the next thing with these injuries that just continue to pile up on Edwards, who from a small stature standpoint is just not holding up to the rigors of, you know, of college, big-time college football. Like, I just don't know how else to say it. They figured he could be an every down back, and he's not. He's not. Maybe I'm wrong about the health piece, and maybe it's just he just can't get healthy, and if he was, he could stay healthy. But every indication seems to be that he's just not an every down back. He's more of a scat back. He's more of a change of pace, but not a guy that you want in every down situation. And I think, like, if there's one issue with K-State's team entirely this year, I'd say it's their misevaluation of the running game and their inability to manufacture the running game.
And if he misses the entire game, it'll be his third already this season. And this all stems back from him getting knocked out early against Iowa State on a special teams punt return play. He didn't play the next 2 weeks, and then he got on the field a little bit against Arizona, but he only had 4 or 5 carries. And then a full workload against UCF, in which he was fantastic. The next week at Baylor, 10 carries, 26 yards. It's been really up and down and inconsistent. And I think that K-State fans felt like because of what he did in the bowl game when he was the lead primary back against Rutgers, he set a K-State single-game bowl record, had over 200 yards on the ground, but that was just one game. And there is a drop-off between him and the other K-State backs. And I think that is one huge thing that's been missing from K-State's offense is they don't have that bruiser that they've always had. There isn't a DJ Giddens. Even Deuce Vaughn, although he was small, he was thick. I mean, he was very well put together. He could absorb the contact. And to your point, Dylan Edwards just isn't built that way. So it's a huge learning opportunity for this coaching staff and this K-State team because next year, whether Dylan Edwards is there or not, I think it goes to show that you have to have more than one guy.
What's your feeling on Chris Kleiman today?
I think I put a little bit of an asterisk by this season. It has been massively disappointing. But also, K-State went 9-4 last year, and they were 5-4 in Big 12 play. And when we started our team previews, I thought, why so much love and hype for K-State as a Big 12 contender when they were barely above 500 in league play? They only returned 5 starters on defense, which I think there have been more growing pains on that side of the ball than people anticipated. I think they saw Austin Romaine and they saw Stufflebean, and they saw the secondary and with VJ Payne and just felt like, okay, they've got big names coming back. You know, the defense should be K-State defense like it is every year. But they only had 5 guys coming back, and they didn't really load up via the transfer portal. It was kind of next man up for K-State. So I think there's been more growing pains there. My thought on Chris Kleiman is I think all the is he on the hot seat talk is way too premature. He's been a consistent winner in this conference. He won a Big 12 championship just a couple of years ago. This year's been a down year. Now, next year, if it's back-to-back of this, then it's maybe a little bit more of a thing.
Is it more – because I agree with you to a degree. The way they finished last year, though, it's not just this year, right? It's the end of last year where they really tanked at the end of the season where they lose 4 of their last 5. The only win they had was that bowl game, which is – it's always tough to – there's motivational. There's the who's available, who's not. I guess I'm closer to the hot seat maybe than you are on Kleiman. Now, I think you said it all. Like, up until basically the last 5 games of last year, he was one of the best coaches and viewed that way in the Big 12. Kleiman had the Big 12 championship under his belt, consistent winner. But I don't know, man. This feels like a lot on the coaching staff in terms of why the offense isn't better, in terms of a misevaluation at the running back position. I put a lot of this on the coaching staff.
And we noted during our previews that this is the 4th offensive coordinator for Kansas State in the last 4 years. And I think that continuous turnover, calling the plays, finally caught up to him. You know, Matt Wells was not he was a promotion from within the K-State coaching staff, but last year was his first year on staff. It's not like some of these other guys like a Connor Riley, a Colin Klein when he was calling plays that had been inside the program for 3, 4, 5 years learning from the guy that's calling plays before them. This was kind of an outsider coming in. So I do think there are some questions there. Kansas State was 7-1 last year. And then the injuries caught up to them. They had a lot of things just go poorly down the stretch. I think it would take a complete, almost Oklahoma State level collapse for his job to be in question even next season. Because K-State's athletic director, Gene Taylor, is very loyal, very much all in on the guys that he has hired. And he hired Chris Kleiman. But what they have to, and I don't know what the answer is here, but Chris Kleiman, when they were competing for and winning Big 12 championships, they were winning those close games. They're 5-10 the last 2 seasons in games decided by a score or less. There's only one other coach in the Big 12 that has a worse record in one-score games. That is an issue, and that's something that if it carries over into next year, then I do think there will be an outcry from K-State fans.
Who's the other coach?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Was it Lance Leipold?
No, it wasn't Leipold.
Okay. One of those close wins, the 5-10, would be against Kansas last year. But I haven't forgotten about it. James Westling, Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio. In other news, shifting away from the TCU K-State game, Colorado and Iowa State this week. Iowa State looking to bounce back following their loss to Cincinnati. Colorado off to an 0-3 start, hosting Iowa State at home. And Deion Sanders earlier this week announced that he would have to have surgery to remove some blood clots that he continues to have in his leg. He had the surgery and is now back to coaching. Guy's unbelievable in terms of resilience. And here's what Deion said day 2 on his coach's show after surgery.
A little sore today.
Yeah.
It's always, the second day is always much more sore than the first day because you still have some of the medication after you from the first day. So I'm a little sore today. So I mainly was on the cart, coaching from the cart today.
Okay.
All right, so he had to coach from a cart. Here's what he said about the surgery itself. Clip 9. Okay, maybe not.
By the way, it was Lance Leipold. Chris Kleiman's won 33% of his one-score games in the last 3 seasons, actually. This season, 24 and 23. Only Lance Leipold, and there's one other coach that has been slightly worse, and it's Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati. But it's a what have you done for me lately world, and Satterfield is now winning those close games.
Yep. All right, here's Deion on telling the medical staff that they better have that Snoop D-O-double-G.
Pac-Man like my son.
Yes.
And he was sitting right there, too. And I told the anesthesiologist, I said, look, now, if you don't give me the right amount of Snoop Dogg, I'm sure he has something on him right now.
Give me the right amount of Snoop Dogg. Melt that pain away.
Here's what Deion said about coaching on Saturday.
So you're going to be fine for Saturday?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not running out. I'm just, I'm not running out. I'm walking out. So don't expect to run out.
Probably going to kind of saunter on out.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna kind of walk out.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, it's just incredible how this guy just continues to fight through insane adversity. And this is, I believe, his 16th surgery that he's had to have. And many of those post-playing, he had to have surgery to remove his bladder. This offseason, there were some significant health issues that he was dealing with. We knew about the blood clots in his leg. It's why he's had to have toes removed previously. He's just, man, he just can't catch a break medically, and yet his attitude coming out is hard to believe.
Very much so. And you could tell after the TCU game that he was hurting in a big way. For him to even mention it post-game during his press conference, you knew that he was really in a lot of pain. But it is lead by example in its purest form. I mean, he undergoes a procedure like this, and he's not missing practice. He's not missing game day Saturday, which I think could really kind of raise that emotional floor for his football team against a really good Iowa State team. That kind of X-factor thing that you look for, Colorado has it for this Saturday. And with Rocco Becht being beat up, all of the money on this game is leaning Iowa State because it's a tricky spread. It's only 1.5 or 2.5 in favor of the Cyclones on the road. It's going to be a coin flip game. And Caden Salter and that Colorado team, this is something that they can rally around and lean on Deion's mental toughness in a big spot here in Week 7.
Yeah, surprised at that line, to be honest with you, given Iowa State coming off a loss and given how Colorado's looked. But at 0-3 in conference play, maybe they figure, something's got to give. We'll have more on this game coming up on the way next. Plus Arizona State, Utah. On the way next, though, we'll hear Brett Yormark, the commissioner, was sitting in with us in studio here on yesterday's inaugural Big 12 studio show. You are not going to want to miss what Brett Yormark had to say. We'll play that for you next. With James Westling, I am Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched now as a part of Big 12 Studios.
Second down and 10. Sanders. Here's a little screen.
And they find Edwards. He breaks it back with running room on the ball. Down to second.
Big 12 today, heard exclusively on TuneIn, and now you can watch us. Today is the official launch on Big 12 Studios, big12studios.com, the Big 12 Fast Channel. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling, and we are now joined by the Big 12 Commissioner, Brett Yormark, here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. Good morning.
Nice to see you both. I need to know who does the music mix. That intro was fantastic. Whoever's responsible for it, I love it.
All Taman.
I love it.
All Taman.
Great job.
I mean,
glad to be here, guys.
Perfect song to be bouncing you in, right? Because, I mean, They're not. The rest of the conferences, they're not like us.
They're not. We're a different league.
Well, I tell you what, we are super excited about this setup, number one, here at Big 12 Studios, and just the tune-in, Raycom, Big 12, collab, if you will. What does this mean in terms of kind of just one more layer and one more check of all the goals that you have for the conference when it comes to the whole media landscape?
Well, thank you. Again, guys, great to be with you, and congrats. I like the intimacy of the new set. It's terrific and very much on brand. You know, when we first got here, myself and those that came with me, we wanted to be in the storytelling business. We felt that was critically important. We didn't think that storytelling was being done as profoundly as it should be, specifically in the Big 12. And when I think about storytelling, I mean the human interest stories, the student athletes, Olympic sports. We now have the distribution platforms to do that. And, you know, it's interesting. Our fans are very avid. They want as much content as we can give them, not just on game day, but throughout the week. And you guys are providing that. So thank you very much. And it's a big platform for us. And we're just thrilled to be in partnership with, obviously, TuneIn and Raycom. And it's been a great year, and it's only going to get better.
There's so many other partnerships that have been announced recently. You know, the Barstool Sports partnership, you know, more distribution through TNT and HBO Max and international distribution. There's the announcement of the international games. You know, when you first started, we talked about your whiteboard and how many things were written on the whiteboard. Have you been able to erase? Like, is there more space? It's endless, it feels like. And I'm also curious, like, what is your process from ideation to execution?
Well, great question. First of all, I love our distribution partners. My goal was to get as many people to like us now so they love us when we become a free agent in January of 30. You know, if you think about it from a media landscape perspective, the conference has always gone early. You know, I went early when I took the job in August of 22. 90 days later, we had doubled down with ESPN and Fox for all the right reasons. But we had to do it in many respects. So we haven't been in the marketplace as a true free agent in probably over 20 years. So I look forward to that moment. And what we've been able to do strategically with some of our sub-licensing will only give us an opportunity to entertain the opportunities from more than just ESPN and Fox. We love ESPN and Fox. And if I'm still the commissioner, we're going to continue to double down with those partners. But opening it up to others, I think that's critically important. When you think about just the media landscape for the Big 12, we have some controlled media platforms, which is critically important. We have 5 of the biggest media partners now supporting us and elevating and amplifying who we are and what we do, both our member institutions but also the conference. As I was saying just a couple of minutes ago, Fox last night, during their coverage of the Major League Baseball playoffs, they were promoting our games this weekend. That's great for our conference because we're not just going to a football audience. We're going to a sports audience that's national. So more amplification, more promotion is critically important. You mentioned a little bit about our announcement last week at going to Wembley. In fact, I'll be in London early next week for a press conference at Wembley. Critically important for us. I think we can win globally. And that's important both short-term and long-term. The long-term benefit of winning globally is how do we monetize those international broadcast rights, which currently we are not doing. In fact, no conference does it. So really excited about where we are today. You referenced the whiteboard. There's a lot on it. But, you know, you ask a question about ideation to execution. One of the things that I'm focused on, and so is my executive leadership team, is how do we focus on the things that matter most? The things that are going to move the needle for this conference. And for me, that's how do I create value for my membership? So there's a lot on that whiteboard, but it's prioritized. And for a guy like me that wants to do a lot at the same time, you know, I've had to show a lot of discipline, and I've had to prioritize what truly are the things that are going to create value for this conference. And we just came off a day and a half of a board meeting with our ADs here in Dallas, and that's what we're focused on, the things that can move the needle.
NBC picking up some basketball. They just announced that the games that are airing on Peacock will also be on YouTube TV. That's huge. TNT, fans are loving the TNT broadcasts for college football. Have to be happy about that, yeah?
Love it. Love it. You know, I've always been a fan of TNT, you know, going back to my NBA days rather. Their production, their talent, how they story tell, what they put into it week to week. Our fans, because I'm following social media during the games, love TNT. They love the access we're providing them, the production quality. They're really getting under the hood, you know, when you think about storytelling with student athletes and coaches. They've been a wonderful, wonderful addition to the football season. And then, as you said earlier, they'll transition into basketball, which obviously they do a great job with, having been with the NBA for all those years. So excited about the TNT addition.
Yeah, I'm curious for your thoughts on private equity. Obviously, that's been a huge part of the discussions in college sports. We saw last week, Big Ten made some headlines with some potential news on that front. Can you just add some context for people that are maybe confused about what private equity looks like at the conference level versus maybe the individual school level?
Great question. So I'm going to take a step back. You know, when I got here as commissioner, I realized it was incumbent upon me to explore every and all options to best position our schools and, for that matter, our conference. Looking at capital was one of the things I felt was critically important. And we did an exploration of all the different scenarios that could unfold. Private equity effectively is having someone come in and take a piece of your conference. You're selling a piece of your conference. And with that, think about it as another member. So in the case of the Big 12, if you had 16 schools, you now have a 17th member effectively. So we went down that path. You know, for me and where I sit today, I truly believe that given the uncertainty around collegiate athletics, that having a strategic partner that can help create value, okay, value creation, we discussed it earlier, is very important. And a strategic partner can offer lots of different things. They can offer expertise in different areas of the business. They could be a great sounding board, and they could provide capital when and if our schools need it. So that's kind of how I think about it today. I would never, and I guess I shouldn't say never, but the ideal scenario for us is not just to partner with someone for capital. For me, it's got to be much more the strategy. You know, the subject matter expertise is critically important. The other piece is I'm really bullish on the Big 12. I always have been. I love our trajectory. I love where we're going. And, you know, I'm not inclined to give up any of that upside right now, knowing that, again, we're going to go into the marketplace in January of 30. I think we'll have a big moment. But certainly, as the commissioner, you have to explore every and all options. You never want to be on your heels, and you want to be forward-thinking. And we, as a conference, have done that. And I've done that with our board and our ADs.
We are joined by the Big 12 Commissioner, Brett Yormark, here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn and via video at Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel. The Big 12 didn't have a preseason conference poll for football. We are looking at the start that Texas Tech has had and still think they're ranked too low, although in the top 10 of the AP Top 25. We've tossed around the idea of should the AP Top 25 have a preseason poll if they want to have a preseason poll, but then no poll for about a month, similar to what the FCS level does, and then revise the poll and kind of refresh it week 4, week 5, week 6, whatever they want to do. Would that help the Big 12? What are your thoughts on just the AP Top 25?
So we've discussed this internally a lot, and I'm not a huge believer in the preseason polls. Because of roster management and the portal, you just don't know what you have until you play a game. Yeah. You know, and, you know, to predetermine and just to judge things based on what's on paper, I'm not a big fan of. So starting, you know, those polls a couple of weeks into the season, once you have an understanding of truly what you have, I think has some merit to it. And that's just one person's opinion. When I think of the AP 25, I do believe with you. I think Texas Tech is one of the premier programs in the country. And they should be ranked higher. but they're going to continue to play, and we'll see where that goes. I like how we're represented today. Cincinnati received the most votes of those that were not in the top 25. We'll see where that goes. But I love where the conference is. As you guys know, you cover us every week. We've got 2 undefeated teams. We've got 4 schools that are undefeated in conference play. This is a big weekend for us. The next couple of weekends are big. I think at some point in time, parity is great. And we have a lot of parity. I mean, I was reading a stat, either we're the first or second FBS conference when you think about lead changes in the fourth quarter. It really shows the parity and the excitement. I got a call from someone from the networks over the weekend, said, Brett, your conference leads the drama meter in all of football. And I think that was dead on. But the next couple of weeks, I think, could create some separation as you're looking at who might end up in Arlington. And we'll see how it plays out. But each week is just action-filled, and it's playing out like we had hoped.
Do you think that the Big 12 is fairly represented in terms of the AP Top 25 and in terms of the national public perception of the league and how good it is relative to where it's thought to be?
I'm not sure we're recognized as much as we should be nationally. I think our style of play is incredible. We score a lot of points. We are the conference of quarterbacks. Like I said, we lead the drama meter. When you think about lead changes in the fourth quarter, I do believe that some of our schools should probably be ranked a little bit higher. An undefeated BYU, obviously a Texas Tech. But I also look at schools that are on the fringe that should be getting greater consideration, like a Utah. Cincinnati is off to a great start. I'll be in Cincinnati this weekend when they host UCF. So let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But I think the conference is picking up a lot of momentum. And, as I said and have been saying for quite some time, settlement, in theory, should have created a level playing field. Yeah. When you think about the cap. I do feel that's playing out each and every week now. When you think about who started in the top 10 or top 15, some schools aren't even the top 25 anymore. So there is greater parity, I think, across college football, generally speaking. And I think over the course of the next couple of weeks, our conference will emerge and hopefully get the consideration we deserve.
There's some really good teams, once again. Last one before we let you go, basketball media days just around the corner here in a couple of weeks up in Kansas City with the women and the men. Expectations for the Big 12 basketball season when it comes to not just the teams and the member institutions, but you have 5 television partners on the men's side, which will put the Big 12 in some prime windows. What are your expectations there?
Well, first of all, I talked about the preseason polls not meaning much, but I will say that we have 6 schools in the top 25 in the preseason poll, okay? So I'll use that to my advantage at this point in time. But I think we have schools beyond those 6 that are going to vie for bids into the tournament, the March Madness, and I think we're probably deeper than we've ever been. We were very successful in the portal. We've got a great incoming freshman class. When you look at the talent that's distributed across our schools, we retained some of the big faces in the league last year. So I'm really excited about where we're going, as a conference. Last year we had a great run, obviously, in San Antonio. We were almost there in winning a championship. I do expect us to show up in Indianapolis, at least with one school, maybe multiple schools. I think we're that good. So I'm really excited about it. And what's nice is that the country is going to be able to see Big 12 basketball almost every night. You talk about 5 media partners. We've had ESPN. They've been terrific. Fox comes into the fold this year. Really excited about that. A lot of broadcast windows there. TNT, obviously, they did it at such a high level with the NBA. Now they're in our family for basketball. NBC, and congratulations on your gig, James. That's exciting. And CBS. I mean, CBS is going to be big time for us. They had 6 games, and now there are 26 games between CBS Sports Cable and over the air. So each and every week, our conference will be promoted and marketed like never before. And I'm excited about that. The women's, too. I mean, listen, I'm excited about the women's game. I become a huge fan of women's basketball. In some regards, I probably get to more women's games than I do men games. This year, our linear exposure will be terrific. Now, we don't have CBS, TNT, and NBC with the women, just ESPN and Fox, but they do a terrific job. And as you know, the women will have, for the third year running, there'll be a T-Mobile with the men, for our championship week. They kick it off for the first 5 days and lead us into the men's championship. So should be a really exciting basketball season. I look forward to having you guys at Media Days. We're gonna reimagine Media Days a little bit. I felt that historically our Media Day, but others too, it's a little institutional. So you should be excited about it. We've got lots of different new elements that we're going to be introducing, really geared toward the student athlete. We'll have a fashion walk, which will be very, very different because I think, again, back to storytelling, fashion is something that, our student athletes love, both, on the men's and women's side, and we're going to let us know who they are a little bit, from a fashion perspective. There's talk about a little skills challenge that we might introduce. We'll see what that looks like. So trying to reimagine it. We're not going to get it all done this year, but it'll be a big first step in the right direction for us.
It's a busy whiteboard, James. It's a lot going on that whiteboard.
I love it. I love it. And what a way to let the student athlete express themselves. I mean, that is so cool.
That's when I compare where I am today versus where I was, having been, the CEO of the Brooklyn Nets for 16 years, one of the things that is very clear to me is that we're in a purpose-driven industry, and I don't want to lose sight of that, despite rev share and all the things we're doing. At the core, it's the student athlete. And how do we give them the platform to be the best version of themselves? Whether they go on and play at the next level or not. And, you think about the whiteboard, that's our core focus. How do we enable our student athletes to be the best version of themselves? And humanizing them is a big part of that. And we're going to start doing that more and more during those tentpole events, media days, et cetera. So excited about it.
Well, we are incredibly grateful to be here. So thank you for this partnership, the opportunity to promote this league and break down these teams. And we're all in. And again, just thank you so much for your time and for everything you do for this conference.
Thank you both. You guys are at the forefront of telling our story. And we appreciate it. We appreciate the partnership. And as you guys know, I'm always here to help when I can.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
That is the Big 12 Commissioner, Brett Yormark, here on Big 12 Today. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, seen via Big 12 Studios, big12studios.com, the Big 12 Fast channel. You can watch us via YouTube, DirecTV, Roku, Amazon Prime, and many, many other avenues. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We'll be back in a moment. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio.
This is Big 12 Radio. You can do it, James. Just put your back into it. James Westling, Ari Temkin. But just your back, nothing else.
That's the key.
Yeah.
The key is putting your back.
I wonder if Ice Cube could still put his back into anything.
I don't think Ice Cube can get off the couch.
Yeah. Take that, Ice Cube.
And we have that in common.
James Westling, Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio here on TuneIn. If you have not yet already, make sure to check us out on the TuneIn app. Download it. Heart the channel. Do the same as part of Big 12 Studios, whether it's on the Big 12's YouTube channel, Amazon Prime Video, Roku, Tubi, DirecTV Stream. Am I missing any, James?
Probably. The list is long, so I'm going to say no.
Okay, thank you.
Got it all. Crushed it.
Crushed it. We got to find ourselves on the BYU TV app, by the way. I don't know why we're not there.
Yeah.
Between us and Homeward Bound, some really classic kids movies. It's a great app, by the way.
Spencer Litton's our guy. He comes on the show quite frequently, and what he was telling us that they'll play like classic football games, and they'll do all these really elaborate, in-depth features on all the sports: basketball, football, volleyball, baseball, etc.
BYU TV.
And then they'll play Homeward Bound at 7:00.
Well, the app,
it's a hard transition.
And the BYU TV app, like it's a great app. It's free. It's got lots of movies. It's a great service, especially kids movies. If you have
Deep
kids.
dive on AJ DeBonsa, followed by, coming up next, Air Bud.
All right, James Westling, Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio. Great to have you with us. Some injury news updates. Pete Nakos, Round 3 Sports, is saying that both Jacob Rodriguez and Howard Sampson, who were listed on as questionable on the initial availability report, will play this weekend. Pete Thamel from Yahoo, as we discussed, rather from ESPN. Haha, it's been a few years. Says Dylan Edwards will not play for K-State against TCU. And it is looking more and more like Sam Leavitt will not play for Arizona State, which is, let's park there for a moment, James. Arizona State and Utah, maybe the best game of the weekend. It's certainly one of the best games we've yet to discuss here on Big 12 Radio and Preview. It's kind of funny because I don't know what the perception is of Utah right now. This was a team that when the season started, a lot of people expected them to be competing towards the top of the conference. Some had them winning the conference. But it feels like they've been so good except for one game. And I don't know about you, but my opinion of Utah was skewed probably a little bit too much based on the outcome of the Texas Tech game. Like, I don't think very highly of Utah, and that's not probably the case because, like, Texas Tech may actually be that good.
Exactly. And remember, this was essentially a one-score game going into, middle part of the third quarter. So I will park it. And if I'm Arizona State, I'm throwing it in reverse this weekend because without Sam Leavitt, this team's going backwards. And I thought, like, that is the injury of all injuries, in my opinion. All the guys that are beat up in this conference, I think the drop-off at that position is massive. And that's not a knock against the backup Jeff Sims as much as I give Sam Leavitt a ton of credit for the big wins that Arizona State has had this season. Where would they be without him? Well,
I'd say it's both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. A little bit of both. Sims hater, this guy.
He's a turnover machine, dude.
Turnover machine. That's all he does. Turn the ball over. But for Utah, I'm with you on that. And I think part of it is they had a bye after the Texas Tech game, and then they played West Virginia. Well, they went on the road to Morgantown, led 35-0 at halftime. That game was over 30 minutes in. And I think that this is a game that comes down to Jeff Sims' play, the Arizona State quarterback, but also why all of a sudden is Utah, why do we feel like they're struggling offensively when they've still got a top 10 rushing attack? Their offensive line has only allowed 3 sacks all season. Now, Arizona State has a really strong group up front. They're only allowing about 80 yards on the ground per game. So I think winning the trenches is going to be massive in this game. And then also, Utah converts 61% on third down. That's second in the country. That's best in the Big 12, second in the nation. They went 8 for 8 in the first half last week at West Virginia. sustaining these drives, keeping Devin Dampier in rhythm. That's their MO. And keeping Arizona State's Arizona State's offense off the field, I think is going to be massive.
I mean, I think a big reason for that is they haven't really – I mean, Texas Tech's the best team they've played by far. So it feels like we just don't have a total accurate representation of this team. Like, Utah is good. To me, they have a ceiling. And that ceiling is what we saw in the Texas Tech game. And that was coming into the season what I figured would be the biggest issue for Utah. When they found themselves in games against quality defenses that forced them to be multidimensional, can Devin Dampier be a consistent enough passer? Dampier is from Phoenix. He went to Saguaro High School in Scottsdale and was coached actually by the current tight ends coach for Arizona State, Jason Mons. So there's some history here. Dillingham even said that, I wish I would have recruited him, was never really a Devin Dampier believer, and basically said, like, I probably should have recruited him, did not expect him to have the type of production that he's had so far while being in college football.
Okay, so what is the gap then between a Texas Tech and a Utah? It's a 24-point win for Texas Tech. But then we find out after the fact that Devin Dampier barely practiced that week. He was beat up going into that game. It's still essentially a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. I still think that Utah, if Texas Tech is a top 5 caliber team, could Utah be a top 10 team? Are they a top 20 team? What is their ceiling? I still really like their defense. They only give up 14 points per game. John Henry Daly is the most underrated defensive player in this conference. He leads the league with 6.5 sacks. He's all over the field. He's the guy that knocked Baron Morton out of the game because he was just pummeling him time and time again in that Texas Tech game. And then they were flawless their last time out against West Virginia. So I'm with you on let's see what they look like against another quality opponent. But I still think their win over UCLA on the road, week 1, just the way they dominated both offensively, defensively, special teams, line of scrimmage. Maybe that's a better win than we thought when UCLA upsets Penn State over the weekend.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, look, this is what we know about Utah. They have an elite running offense, they have an elite offensive line, and they have an elite defense.
And they have a mid-passing game.
Yeah.
Like Devin Dampier leads the league in completion percentage. That's all great, 70%. But they don't have those explosives, and that's what Kyle Whittingham has been harping on. We need more explosive plays. That's the Achilles heel for Utah. They can get chunk plays, 10, 15 yards, but they just haven't had those game-breaking, huge explosives. But against Arizona State, another team that with a backup quarterback, they're not going to be uber explosive offensively. I think that this plays very nicely into the way Utah wants to play.
That's James Westling. I am Ari Temkin. All right, let's pick these games. We've got 5 games to pick, plus our underdog of the week, all coming up next. With James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. You're locked into Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Sam takes the snap, looks far.
Thanks, guys. I knew that was going to be short.
on our YouTube stream says, does James have a hair product sponsor? Because full Johnny Bravo today. Super happy to read that from our buddy James Faust from the Dallas International Film Festival, who won our Pick'em contest last year. And as we found out, some of our listeners are smarter than we are, and James Faust falls into that category. But it's funny. I said the same thing to you during the break. Your hair. I said I looked at James point blank and said, "Do you wake up with your hair looking like that?" Because when I wake up, my hair is all askew.
Yeah.
All askew.
Number one, James is a fantastic listener. Great name. Won our bracket challenge, if I remember right.
Is that what I said? Did I say that?
You said Pick'em something.
Yeah, you're right. Bracket challenge.
To that degree. So, of course, I'm going to correct you at every possible opportunity.
You misspoke.
To do that. You misspoke. You misspoke. But, no, you don't style, hair like this. You coach it. You have to coach it over time. So part of my NIL Big 12 radio, Big 12 Studios package, this hair is the helmet for the show.
Got it.
Working on it.
You didn't really answer the question.
What's the question?
Do you have a hair product sponsor?
No, I'm working on it. It's part of my NIL package.
Got it.
The sponsor.
Got it. Okay.
Just kind of wake up in the morning, throw a little something in there, mess it up, and we go.
Interesting. And so then when do you apply the makeup?
The makeup's only for special occasions, which would be, high-profile Saturday games.
So do you just tan then? Do you go to
it's just all natural.
Go to like a tanning studio?
Just all natural. A little bit of lotion here and there. Just keeping the maintenance.
Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today on TuneIn, and of course you could join the conversation, a part of the Big 12 Conference YouTube channel. Big 12 Studios is available on plenty of platforms. You can watch us, but if you want to comment on the show each and every day and perhaps even have your comments heard on the air, then check us out on YouTube to search Big 12 Conference. All right, it is time to pick our games. James, you and I each week, we talk about these games all week, and then we pick them against Stormy Warren from the Big 615. On the season, I am leading at 19-11 against the spread. James is on my heels at 18-12 after a 4-1 week last week.
You hear that? Footsteps, sorry. Coming for you.
The one loss last week was TCU on a 4th and 6, up 7, inexplicably throwing a touchdown pass to cover the 13.5 points.
Super awesome.
Why you wouldn't just kick the field goal in that situation to go up 2 scores,
Nobody
I'll never
knows.
know.
Nobody
but
knows.
I picked TCU minus 13.5, so I'll take it.
Is that running up the score?
No.
It's not.
It's covering the spread.
Oh, okay, got it. It's the only thing that kept me from a 5-0 mark. I've gone 5-0 and then 0-5 and then 4-1. So could be a down week.
The best was we went 5-0. I went to Vegas the next week, and we both went. You went 0 and I went 1 of 4. And then this week I think 3-2. But still, like the one week we have a horrible off week. I'm in Vegas betting on these games and losing. All right, Stormy Ward is 10-20, so Stormy needs some help here. Yeah. But all right, let's start with our weekly pick'em. Taman Turner, our producer, what do you have for us?
I have Texas Tech and Kansas.
All right, that is a 13.5 point spread favoring the Red Raiders, and I like Kansas to cover. I'll take Kansas plus 13.5 in this one. I don't know that they're going to win this outright. Lance Leipold and the Kansas Jayhawks have covered their last 6 games against ranked opponents. So 6-0 in their last 6 against ranked opponents ATS. And they've won 4 of those 6 straight up, including the 3 that they won last year consecutively. They became the first under 500 team in college football history to win 3 straight weeks against 3 ranked opponents. So they've won 4 of their last 6 and have covered all 6 against top 25 teams. This is a different animal. I recognize that, but I will still take Kansas and their high-powered offense to at least be able to keep this within 2 touchdowns.
Well, I see what you've done all week. You've been baiting me into this pick because anytime I bring up Kansas, you always countered with a Texas Tech is really dominant counterpunch because I like Kansas as well. Now, we are taking it at 13.5. It has moved to 14.5. That is a very key number. But the way Kansas runs the football with LeSean Williams, and Jalen Daniels. I know that Texas Tech's front has been elite. Texas Tech's defense has been nails on money downs, on third and fourth downs, but Kansas has explosive plays. And Texas Tech has not played a team that I think is even close to as explosive as Kansas is. And so KU's offense, which is still top 5, top 10 with all the efficiency metrics, I think they can do enough to keep up and keep pace in this game and cover that 13.5 number. I still think Tech wins the game, but I think it's closer to 10.
All right, let's hear Stormy Warren from the Big 615 here on TuneIn.
How you guys doing? Ari and James. This is going to be an interesting week. There's some tough picks here. My hapless Cowboys not pulling it together this year. Got to put the readers on. Let's take a look at our picks for this week. Texas Tech minus 13.5 versus Kansas. Texas Tech looks like they're the juggernauts. I think they're going to take it over. I think it's going to be a Big 12 run for Texas Tech. They take Kansas easily.
Stormy.
Easily.
Likes the easy win for Tech and taking Tech to cover 13.5 points. All right, Taman, what's our next game?
Arizona, BYU.
All right, Arizona and BYU in a game you can catch as a part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. And what's the spread in this one? What are we picking it at?
I believe it's BYU at 1.5.
Yeah, give me BYU minus 1.5. Though this is on the road, I just don't know that. I feel like BYU's offense is multifaceted enough to win enough against the Arizona defense. And then on the other side, though I'm expecting Jack Kelly to miss the game, I do think Glasgow will play. Kelly is doubtful. Glasgow is probable. And I think they just have enough in their front seven to be able to stop the Arizona running attack and then make Arizona more one-dimensional. So I like BYU to cover 1.5 points in this game.
I do too. BYU's rushing the football almost 60% of the time. They're very much run heavy. They're still scoring over 30 points per game. Arizona's defense is much better than it was last season, but efficiency with all those metrics, they're kind of middle of the pack in the Big 12. They also lost Trey Smith, an edge rusher. He's out for the season. That was announced earlier this week. I just think BYU's too physical. I think they dominate in the trenches. I do think it's relatively close, but BYU on the road in a hostile environment, and I've been looking for a game to bet, to fade the public. This ain't it. BYU's still getting like 62% of the money, but I am with the public. I like BYU in this matchup.
All right, let's hear from Stormy Warren from TuneIn's The Big 615.
BYU minus 1.5 at Arizona. So Arizona beat up on the Cowboys. Because they did, I can't go against them because I don't want to believe that my Cowboys just gave it up to another hapless team. So I'm going to pick the Wildcats.
So far, going against our picks, you and I agree through the first two. Stormy going Arizona plus 1.5 based on what they did to Oklahoma State. Stormy Warren, an Oklahoma State graduate. All right, what's next, Damon?
TCU at Kansas State.
This is, I think, the most underrated game of the weekend. But I think I'll take TCU minus 1.5 in this game. The no Dylan Edwards factor for me. Plus, I just think TCU's defense will do enough against this K-State offense that without Dylan Edwards has not shown much of an ability to be consistent on the ground. So I think removing that run threat and the explosiveness plus that coupled with TCU's passing offense should take advantage of K-State's defense. Give me TCU to cover 1.5 points on the road.
Yeah, 71% of the money is on TCU in this matchup. If Dylan Edwards was healthy, if he was playing in this football game, this would be Kansas State for me. K-State at home is really tough.
Not fading the public here, huh?
Not on this one. Kansas State, they always have kind of that get-right game, but I think this is the game for Kansas State where things could potentially really fall apart because TCU's passing attack is explosive. That's where K-State has struggled defensively. It's Avery Johnson, and that's it offensively right now for Kansas State. They're without Dylan Edwards. They're still without George Fitzpatrick, their best offensive lineman. Jace Brown has not been 100% for about 3 weeks. After him, there's a big drop-off at receiver. TCU's defense has really struggled to get off the field. They're allowing 44% conversion rate on third downs. That's 116th in the country. I think K-State would exploit that, and I think K-State could sustain drives if Dylan Edwards was healthy and playing in this game. But with him out, I still like TCU on the road.
All right, let's hear from Stormy Warren.
TCU minus 1.5 at Kansas State. No idea how to pick this game. I'll go with TCU. I'm going to go TCU minus 1.5 at Kansas State.
So we all agree TCU minus 1.5. All right, Taven, what's next?
Iowa State and Colorado.
All right, Iowa State minus 2.5 versus Colorado. This one is at Folsom Field in Boulder. Colorado looking for their first Big 12 win of the season. Believe this line opened at minus 4.5, so it's been bet down for Colorado all the way to 2.5. I feel like Colorado has some opportunities in their ground game against an Iowa State defense that was very susceptible to the ground attack last week, a physical Cincinnati team. The question for Colorado has been their commitment to the ground game. It feels like Pat Shurmur has fallen in love with the pass game when he should really be leaning on Caden Salter and that rushing attack for Colorado. So give me Iowa State to cover 2.5 points. I feel like there's weeks where I like to take the points. This week I'm not in most of these games. 4 of the 5 I've taken the favorite. On the road, too, I'll take Iowa State minus 2.5.
Yeah, I thought this line was really head-scratching on the surface. When I saw that it was as small and projected to be as close as it has grown to Iowa State minus 3. But we are taking it at Iowa State minus 2.5. I've been looking for a game to fade the public, and I think I found it. Ooh. Iowa State's getting 71% of the money. I'm taking Colorado.
Let's go.
At home in Boulder. Iowa State is 0-2 this year against the spread on the road. And I have concerns about how healthy Rocco Becht is at quarterback. I think Colorado's defense can muddy this game up and make it ugly. I think Caden Salter can make just enough plays for Colorado to have a chance. And then it's a 50-50 coin flip. I think that Folsom Field energy gives Colorado an edge in the altitude with a beat-up Iowa State team at quarterback. And Deion's procedure this week is another X-factor thing that I look at. I think that can really fuel his team. And I just think Colorado is better than their 0-3 Big 12 record. I don't see them starting 0-4. I like Colorado.
I actually kind of like that pick, I'll be honest with you. But I'm not going to change. It's the one game you and I differ on so far, or rather, it's the one game you and I differ on because that's the 5th. What about Stormy Warren?
Iowa State at Colorado. I told you this week in and week out. I am not betting against the Cyclones, even though they didn't pull it out last week. I think Iowa State does it against Colorado. The Buffaloes are going down.
There you go. Iowa State. Stormy agrees with me. Maybe I should have faded Stormy. We also pick our underdog.
We've got one more game.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was the 5th.
That was the 4th. We've got Utah, Arizona State.
Thank you.
Oh, James took it away. Utah, Arizona State.
I did. I took it.
And the line is 6.5?
We have it at 6.5. It has grown to almost 9. It's at 8.5 with the Sam Levitt news.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Utah minus 6.5. With the Sam Levitt news, I'm buying Utah to win this game at home. If Sam Levitt's available in this game, we're taking it at 6.5. I have a totally different thought process on this game. And maybe Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State can come in with a game plan to control the clock. I mean, they're one of the best teams in college football at time of possession because they like to run and lean on their run and their defense. Maybe they can get after Devin Dampier a little bit, but I just think the rushing attack, like this plays right into the hands of Utah. Plus, Utah, there's the potential for rain, as we know in the forecast in Salt Lake City. So give me Utah minus 6.5.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that Utah rushing attack is underrated. I think that we are blinded by the Texas Tech loss for Utah. This is still a really good football team. This is going to be a night game in Salt Lake City. Without Sam Levitt, it's a no-brainer for me. I don't know that Jeff Sims can go on the road in that environment. And to beat a Utah team in Salt Lake City, you have to have a guy that takes over. For Texas Tech, that was Will Hammond, their second quarterback. I don't think Jeff Sims is Will Hammond. So I like Utah as well at home.
All right, let's hear from Stormy.
Utah minus 6.5 at Arizona State. I'm going Sun Devils. I just have a weird feeling. Arizona, kind of like Iowa State, they're a weird team that rises to strange occasions. And I'm going to go Sun Devils against Utah. As far as my Cowboys go, it's going to be a long year. It's going to be a really, really long year. Take care, guys.
He just sounds more and more depressed about his Oklahoma State Cowboys week after week after week.
It's the same
dude
thing every week.
Has an irrational confidence level in his Oklahoma State Cowboys, and even now his irrationality has gone out the window. He's completely irrational and sad, and I hate to see it. Sorry, Stormy. Sorry about that, buddy.
It gets worse and worse each and every week. But he's rocking the Oklahoma State hat during our Pick'em segment, so we know that he is still all in on Oklahoma State and their future. And it's been really interesting to kind of watch that program behind the scenes to see where they might lean one way or the other. It's like when Mike Gundy got let go, all the guys that were at the front of the line for potential candidates, now there's been 5 or 10 new names thrown into the mix. So after the season's going to be wild in Stillwater to see which direction they actually go.
All right, so you and I have been good at picking games against the spread so far this season. We have not been very good in our underdog of the week. We pick an underdog across college football each week. You get 2 points for a cover, 6 points for an outright win, 2 bonus points if you pick a Big 12 team. So if they cover, you get 4 points. If they win outright, you get 8. You get -1, though, if you pick a Big 12 team and they lose or don't cover. So that's the rules for the underdog of the week. You and I have been dreadful. We're tied at 6. I was up 7-6, and then I picked Iowa State to cover last week. And, well, yeah. You picked Florida State plus 4.5 against Miami, which they did not cover either. So why don't you take another bite at the apple here, James?
Okay, I'm ready for that bite. I'm hungry. You know, I love the group of 6 is what we call it now. It's not group of 5 anymore. It's group of 6, I think.
Yeah.
I love these lesser known schools to give them a little bit of love. I am taking Bowling Green at home against Toledo. Little Maction action for you. Bowling Green plus 11 against Toledo. The Toledo coach, that game is Saturday, right? That wasn't one that like slipped under the radar and was played last night or something. No, it's Saturday. Toledo, their coach, when he is favored during his time with the Rockets, he has, where is it? He has the most outright losses of any current college football coach. And he's only 7-7 straight up when he's favored between 10 and 17, and this is a big number. So that's -22 ROI. Only Mac Brown over this span, the now retired Mac Brown, was less profitable in that role. And then I really like what Eddie George is doing at Bowling Green. Bowling Green fought their tails off against Cincinnati. All of a sudden, that is a loss that I think they can really build off of. They've won a couple of games this season, and Eddie George is a fascinating case study. So when he got hired to be a head football coach, he had no coaching experience. And he said that the first thoughts going through his mind when he was considering taking a job at Tennessee State was, what would he do on his college football NCAA like 13 video game? He loved to play Dynasty mode. He was in a Dynasty with his son, who's now a defensive end at Bowling Green. And he started walking through what he would do with his video game Dynasty, and that's how he built his Tennessee State program, and now he's at Bowling Green in his first year.
All right, so you got Bowling Green plus 10.5.
11.
Plus 11.
I see it at 11 against Toledo.
Where do you see it at 11?
Action Network.
Interesting. I see it at plus 10 on ESPN.com. I'll take your plus 11. My underdog of the week is tough because far be it for me to ever root for Missouri, but I'm going to take Missouri plus 3.5 against Alabama. The Crimson Tide 7-13 against the spread in true road games since 2021, and failing to cover by nearly a touchdown per game, including 2-5 against the spread versus ranked opponents. I think Missouri not only covers but wins this game outright. Mizzou, probably one of the more underappreciated teams across college football. And I'm not just saying that because of how badly they beat my Jayhawks.
I was going to say that would be really good for the Big 12.
Would it?
If Missouri beats Alabama?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nobody in the Big 12 has played Alabama. Kansas went toe-to-toe with Missouri. The higher Missouri gets ranked, the more it helps the aggregate strength of schedule within the conference.
All right, let's talk to one of the best athletes in the conference next. Shaylee Myers, the volleyball player for Kansas State, joins us next. It's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin on this Football Friday. This is Big 12 Radio. Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Big 12 Radio, on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. We are awaiting Shaylee Myers, the volleyball star for Kansas State, here on Big 12 Radio. Will join us. She is the two consecutive week Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week, following a record-breaking performance. So hopefully we'll be able to catch up with Shaylee as volleyball season is in the thick of it right now, James. Of course, we're so focused and zeroed in on football. Men's basketball and women's basketball coming up. We'll be in Kansas City in a few weeks for Big 12 basketball media days, and volleyball as well, a huge sport in the Big 12.
Yeah, and Kansas State has had a solid start to their season at 9-4. I mean, the league is looking really good. Arizona State's won 7 in a row. They're 13-2. Colorado's been a surprise this year. They've won 5 in a row. They're 5-0 in Big 12 play and 14-2 overall. And your preseason favorite, BYU, right now, 2-2, middle of the pack.
All right, let's welcome in Shaylee Myers from Kansas State, James Westling's alma mater, who was named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. It's the second time of the season that Shaylee has been awarded the Player of the Week of the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Shaylee, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. So the first player in the rally scoring era to record 34 kills in a single match, and just the fourth in program history to reach the milestone. 34 kills against West Virginia. What goes into something like that?
I mean, a lot of practice, I guess. I've been playing volleyball for a really long time, since like elementary school, and I mean, we put the work in and day out, and I can feel it paying off. And yeah, it took everybody. Like, I know I got 34 kills, but I couldn't have done it without my team and my setter and just everybody, really, all the support I have.
What's the most amount of kills you've had in a single game previously?
27, which is what I got like 2 weeks before at North Carolina.
Wow. Not in high school, you didn't have more than that?
I'm not sure I don't know what I had in high school. Probably like around there. I don't know, really. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm not sure.
Does it like physically hurt? Like, do you wake up the next day and, like, I don't know, would you be your wrist? Like what?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of,
yeah.
It's a lot of velocity.
Yeah. I definitely get sore. We have really great trainers and staff, but I definitely felt it the next day. I mean, even like yesterday we had a game the night before, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a little sore. I feel like I'm getting old, but I really try to prioritize like my health and like recovery, so it definitely helps a lot. But definitely, I think it like for me, I think my legs get the most sore. Like they'll be tired, and then next my shoulder for sure.
When you think K-State volleyball, historically, K-State fans and Big 12 fans, because she was there forever, think Susie Fritz. This is the third year for Jason Mansfield. It's weird to not see Susie on the sidelines, but tell us about Coach Mansfield. You originally committed to Fresno State and then flipped to K-State. So what drew you to Manhattan?
Yeah, I originally committed to Fresno State. I really wanted to go like somewhere warm. I liked California, so I was like, okay, this can be perfect. But they had a coaching change, and it just kind of really wasn't what I wanted anymore. And I decided I wanted to be closer to home the closer I got to it, and be by my family and friends. So that was a big part of it. And then, yes, I did commit under Susie. I had known her previously throughout the recruiting process, and we connected, and then the opportunity just kind of came up, and I was like, yeah, I think this is great. It'll be good for me, and I'm very glad I came here. I mean, the people here are awesome. Like, people talk about it all the time, but the support we have is crazy from the fans and like other sports and just everybody in Manhattan. Like, people will recognize you and be like, oh my gosh, you're on the volleyball team, and it's really fun.
Did Nebraska not recruit you?
I never wanted to go there, really, other than when I was younger.
So you grew up in Lincoln, and Nebraska has one of the premier volleyball programs in the country, but you were never interested in going there.
I mean, when I was a little girl, I was, but no, I knew I wanted something different. I wanted more. They're a great program. I think I would fit in better here, and I have.
Yeah.
So I'm at really high levels still, but not necessarily so, like, I don't know what the word is, intense, I guess. I wanted to earn my spot. and be able to play.
Yeah, and I'd imagine growing up in a college town too, getting away from there a little bit would be beneficial.
Yeah, I love Lincoln. Honestly, I haven't been able to go home like really this season. I've had opportunities, but I haven't. But I love it there. Yeah, but I kind of knew I didn't really want to stay there.
Are you a Nebraska football fan?
I mean, like, yes and no. Like, if you're in Nebraska, like, if you're from there, you kind of have to be. But, like, I watch the games if it's on. Like, if I'm looking at the screen and it's on, I'll watch it. But I don't say super tuned in. But, yeah, it's interesting.
So, like, K-State's playing Nebraska. You're rooting for K-State in football.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Easy.
Yeah.
You brought up the facilities at Kansas State and the Morgan Family Arena, the volleyball arena. Are you playing in that now? Is that officially open? I know that games were played in Bramlage, and where are they at on that? And then just talk about the support that you get from the K-State fans.
Yeah, we are in Morgan Family Arena. It is insane, and it's volleyball only. We've been there ever since my sophomore year. So, kind of like right when we got Jason Mansfield and his staff. When he came in, we got to go to the Morgan Family Arena, and it's just been like a crazy experience. The fans show up every day, like no matter who we're playing or what time or like what day it is, the fans are gonna be there, and they're loud, and they're wearing purple, and it's really like I don't even know how to explain it. We walk in there on a game day, and we're like, wait, like this is real. It's so awesome. I also just realized I never really talked about Jason. I think I was supposed to do that.
Oh, tell us about Jason then.
Okay. I mean, the support he's like shown for us is really great. What was I gonna say? I feel like this year especially, I feel very trusted by him and by the coaching staff, and I think it's just a good reminder because sometimes like even when you're doing your best, it's just nice to hear. Like even yesterday, he told me like me and Anaya Clinton, our other outside, was like we trust you guys, we have full faith in you guys, and that was just really nice to hear and a good reminder, and I think he does a good job of that. He also we want to be a team in everything we do, wherever we go. We want to be like a team and act like one and look like one, and I think that that's really important, and he does a really good job of building that within us through communication and like just even in the arena, like what are we doing, what are we talking about, how do we act, and I think that's really kind of a nice thing to see.
What stands out to you about the Big 12 conference overall in volleyball?
It's just so good. Like every single team in the Big 12 is good. Like there's not a team that we play and we're like, okay, like we've got this one. Like every team is going to battle. Every team has great players, great coaches, but it's so fun. It's so competitive. Obviously, like I love competing, and that's definitely what you're going to get in the Big 12.
What did you work on this off season to kind of polish your game the most?
Definitely serve receive. Serve receive is something that I'll be working on until my very last game. It's, in my opinion, probably the hardest skill. It's just so mental, but also physical in a sense. But yeah, I put a lot of work in this summer, in the spring, just like we all do on serve receive, and getting like private lessons when I'm back at home. Just my back row game all around, defense, hitting the BIC, and I'm really glad I worked on those things because I think the BIC is a big part of my game right now, along with serve receive, and just being able to be consistent all 6 rotations is really important.
What does that mean when you say the BIC?
Yeah, it's a back row attack and middle back. It's in the middle of the court pretty much. So obviously you can't jump in front of the 10-foot line, but it's still like a really high level and fast attack that just kind of, it gives you another hitter. So like if you have 3 hitters front row and you have the BIC, you have 4 hitters. Or like if the setter's front row and there's only 2 hitters front row, then we have me or Anaya or our outsides on the BIC, and then the setter dump up front. So we just have more attackers to go from every angle really.
When you're setting up for a kill shot, do you have a target? Is there like a player on the other side where you're like, that's my target? Or is it more of like, I'm just trying to hit it with as much force to the ground as I possibly can? Like what is your approach in a kill shot?
It's some of both. It really depends. Like we obviously have a scouting report. We know some areas that are exposed, whether it's a block or a like defender or an off block, but really it's just it's so play dependent, set dependent. How did we pass? So like you don't really go into it thinking like I'm gonna hit line on this ball because the set might not allow you to hit line. So like just as we grow, like you have to have the good like really good court awareness. Is the set too wide? Then I can't hit it a certain way, if that makes sense. But
Yeah, totally.
definitely pretty much most of my game I would say is like hitting it hard, but shot selection is really important too. Like, are they really deep? Then I can throw in a tip to kill, and nobody's even gonna touch it. So yeah, lots of options. But
Yeah, that all makes sense. Shaylee Myers, K-State volleyball player, is joining us. So my 7th grade daughter plays volleyball. What advice would you give to her or your 7th grade self?
just keep working. Like it's really hard, but I for sure think that it's worth it. And being younger, I mean, you don't really know what you're doing when you're younger, but I think it's so important. Like what I would tell parents almost is like have them practice every position and every skill. Like don't necessarily be super like I'm going to be this position. And if you think you are, then you should definitely work on that one the most, but something that helped me, I feel like, is I started working on passing and defense from a young age, even though I was tall. So technically I could have like always been a middle or only front row my whole life, but just getting the touches in every spot that you can is really helpful. And just to have fun, like don't take it serious, but it doesn't have to be so serious. It's not your whole life. It's like it's a part of who you are, but you're like more than a volleyball player.
Totally. Is that a dog behind you?
Yes, Frankie.
Frankie. Oh, look at the you say Frankie's name and the tail just starts wagging. Dogs are the best.
Yeah, she lives with me here when she can.
That's awesome.
Hi, Frankie. Hello. No.
A boy or girl?
She's a girl.
Girl. Yeah, Frankie was like, "You call my name, so let's do something.
yeah,
let's throw a ball around. Let's."
Can't blame her.
Can she spike?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. I wish. I'd bring her to practice with me every day.
See, that's what the Air Bud movies have done to me. I now just picture every dog being able to do every sport.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Bring her to
only
practice.
likes soccer. She's a soccer ball.
She'd be like Pudge the cat, viral sensation.
Can you teach them with the paw, like the downward motion?
You want to try to play volleyball, Frank?
Shaylee Myers, appreciate your time. Good luck
Yeah.
the rest of the season, and congrats. What an incredible week you just had.
Thank you so much.
Shaylee Myers joining us here, the outside hitter for K-State, and the Big 12 Player of the Week. Second time this season she's earned that recognition after a 34-kill performance against West Virginia. There you go, K-State volleyball, James. Really testing your knowledge of your K-Staters.
Yeah, it's weird not hearing, Susie Fritz, and I'm glad that Shaylee brought her up because she was so impactful building that program and then kind of passed the torch towards the tail end of her career. And Jason Mansfield has done a phenomenal job. And the Kansas State facilities, like that Morgan Family Arena, is in a league of its own. It's a smaller venue. Everything's nice and shiny. I mean, it's brand new, built from the ground up. So the K-State fans, like volleyball is a growing sport, and it gets rowdy in there. There's not a bad seat in the house. Again, it's smaller, more intimate versus playing in a basketball arena like they do at a lot of places where it's 15, 16,000 seat capacity. It's only a quarter full. So really good stuff on the Big 12 volleyball front.
All right, coming up next, it's our weekly Friday staple, and there's so many topics across the sports world that are covered on a weekly basis. Which ones could have been an email? That's next with James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio. Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
With over 140
Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today with James Westling on social at James Westling. I am Ari Temkin on social at Ari Sports. You can always get in touch with us via Instagram or Twitter, X, YouTube as well. People are streaming us via Big 12 Studios on YouTube, and you can put your comments there and have them read and discussed. James won't answer them, but I will.
Right.
Because that's the kind of customer service that I'm into.
Yeah, and you're very good at it.
You, on the other hand,
you
are
go
not.
above and beyond. Above and beyond, so you are carrying the load there. Graham _734276 is coming in hot. I understand. That may or may not be a family member. So you'll know. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
IYKYK. You're crushing it.
Thank you. All right. This is the segment that is really taking the world by storm.
I think so.
Yeah. It's a little segment where there's tons of headlines across the news and sports landscape every week, all year. And each week on a Friday, we sit back and wonder which one of these stories could have been a headline. James?
Okay, I'm going first today. I like that. Okay, I'll start with this could have been an email story from this week. Centers around the guy that is apparently the front runner for the Heisman, Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer, and just his injury status, which seems to be a thing each and every day. But my favorite comes from the Texas A&M message board. Oklahoma plays Texas. They don't even play Texas A&M this weekend. And this fella chimes in with, I have some relevant news. Sooners quarterback John Mateer will play against Texas. I was in Chipotle tonight in Norman, Oklahoma, and Mateer was in line right in front of me. The tortilla presser asked Mateer how his hand is doing, and Mateer said it's doing great. Mateer then went on to say he is 100% going to play against Texas tomorrow. Here's to hoping Mateer leads the Sooners to shut out the Horns. Again, that's Texas A&M. It's not even Texas. They don't even play Oklahoma.
So an Aggie message board.
Yes.
And Aggie was in Norman.
Yes. And Aggie was in Norman at Chipotle,
of course,
and John Mateer was in line in front of him. And so he was eavesdropping on the conversation between Mateer and the tortilla presser, the guy making the burrito. And he said, I'm playing, guys. I'm playing. Okay, so take it for what it's worth. He leads with howdy, Ags. Howdy, Ags.
Don't you worry.
Howdy, Ags.
Don't you worry your pretty little...
But here's why I say it could have been an email. Oklahoma is going to lose at least 4 games the rest of the year. Like, look at their schedule. They play, I think, 6 consecutive ranked teams coming up with I guess Texas is outside of the top 25. That's like their only non-ranked opponent. So Oklahoma, look, if they go 10-2 or whatever, sure, he wins the Heisman. But I don't think they're relevant here in about 3 or 4 weeks just based off their schedule alone and who they've beaten to this point.
Let's keep this could have been an email in Norman, Oklahoma, shall we? This definitely could have been an email. According to Barry Trammell from the Tulsa World, Joe Castiglione says, the athletic director at Oklahoma, that he has, quote-unquote, reached out to Oklahoma State as a non-conference opponent. And Castiglione told Trammell he has reached out as recently as a few months ago, but, quote-unquote, Castiglione said the interest from Stillwater remains minimal. So he moved on with other scheduling endeavors. So Barry Trammell of the Tulsa World, long time covering Oklahoma sports, basically had this long article in the Tulsa World about how Oklahoma needs to keep its rivalry with Texas. The whole composite of the article was about Oklahoma and Texas, and that the Red River game needs to be kept, which, by the way, that used to be a huge Big 12 game, is being played this weekend. Just a side note. A tiny blip, a small sentence in the article was, and I quote, from Barry Trammell, OU tried to keep OSU as a non-conference opponent and reached out as recently as a few months ago, but Castiglione said the interest from Stillwater remains minimal. So he moved on with other scheduling endeavors. I saw how many tweets referencing this few sentences from an article that was written all about Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma State's avoiding Oklahoma, blah, 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 blah. This, to me, definitely could have been an email, one, because it was a small blip within this article. It was not about Oklahoma State at all. It was not about Bedlam at all. It was about the Red River game. But more to the point, like, These non-conference games are scheduled far. Like, it's the same story with Bedlam every year, and Oklahoma State has kept it consistent, and Oklahoma keeps trying to play like the high road here. Like, well, we keep reaching out, and they keep saying no. Bro, you left the conference. Okay? You had the choice to leave. Oklahoma State, like many other teams, already has their non-conference build out for years. I would love to see Bedlam return. I think it absolutely would benefit the Big 12 and would be a benefit of Oklahoma State. I disagree with Oklahoma State not trying to make this work, but there's 100 reasons why it won't work, and I hate that Oklahoma keeps trying to play like the high road here. Like, well, we're trying to do whatever we can to make it work. Are you?
Oklahoma State has non-conference opponents scheduled, and not every single slot, but most of them, all the way out through 2036. Like, these non-conference games are scheduled so far in advance that, number one, there's not room. But this just feels really petty by Oklahoma anytime this gets mentioned, because they know that. And they also see that Oklahoma State has just fired their coach, is really struggling right now as a program. So now they want to draw attention to, yeah, we really want to play this game. I bet you do. You're having a good year by your standards. Remains to be seen what the rest of it looks like. And Oklahoma State is down bad. So it just feels really unnecessary. And let's see, every single slot is taken for Oklahoma State all the way through 2030, the next 5 seasons. There's not room on the schedule.
Yeah.
I do think eventually this comes back, kind of like the Kansas-Missouri series. I mean, it took, 12, 13 years, but they're playing that game now. And Kansas State played Nebraska or has Nebraska on the schedule in the future. I think eventually these like, it's still a little bit too fresh. It's too soon. But eventually, I do think we'll see that matchup happen way down the road.
I mean, this to me, it's like, yeah, I keep asking Scarlett Johansson out. And she just keeps saying no. But she said there's minimal interest on my side. Like, it's one of those, like, you don't need to ask Joe Castiglione. You know what the answer is going to be. This could be an email. Bill Belichick is back in the news with significant headlines on whether or not North Carolina has already explored options to buy him out. Ali Connolly, who covers North Carolina sports, tweeted, per sources, Bill Belichick has discussed buyout options with North Carolina's hierarchy. Belichick has signaled a willingness to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find a soft landing with another team or in media. North Carolina then came out and released a statement basically saying, we 100% are fully committed to North Carolina and Bill Belichick. This could have been an email. And, I mean, probably an email I would have just immediately deleted. Like, this, North Carolina being bad was the most obvious outcome of this entire season. And not because of anything other than the relationship that Bill Belichick has with Jordan Hudson. Like, you could tell that was going to be such a horrible distraction for a coach that made a career, a very successful one, out of limiting distractions. You just knew that was going to be a horrible distraction for a team that, in his history, had never dealt with distractions. Oh, by the way, he hasn't coached at this level, and you've got Michael Lombardi, who, for some reason, continues to get work in a personnel department of an NFL or a college football franchise, despite the fact that he's not really good at identifying proper talent, but he is really good at going on the radio or going on TV and calling people out and acting like he's a lot smarter and better than everybody else. Michael Lombardi's super good at that. He's really good at being better than everybody else and at least saying that he is, or at least coming off that way, but he's not really good at anything in personnel. So, like, the most obvious outcome of this season with North Carolina was going to be terrible. And voila, here we are.
We are witnessing one of the all-time college football train wrecks in the history of the sport in real time. And they had that Hulu documentary, so they have this Hulu documentary set to come out. And they have all this footage from everything happening behind the scenes, and Hulu or whoever puts it together, and Bill Belichick says, let's pump the brakes on that. Let's not do that. So we are not going to get to see the North Carolina Hulu documentary.
You know, they say that history is written by the victors. That's what this is. There's no history if it's not a victory, right?
Right.
History is written by the victors, and in this case, there is no victor in North Carolina.
And their stadium was very empty for the second half of their last home game.
They're not even competitive.
No.
Against
and you called it. Like, all offseason, I was saying, they have a really good portal class. Like, maybe he can they'll be fine. They'll go 7-5 or whatever, and you were all over it. You said this is going to be a disaster.
It was so obvious.
And it has been.
It actually is kind of worse than I thought. Like, I didn't think they'd get blown up by UCF.
Oh, it's been way worse. It's been way worse than I ever could have possibly imagined. UCF beating them by 4 touchdowns, TCU throttling them on that Monday night high-profile. Like, the team's just total chaos.
Yeah, this definitely could have been an email. All right, great week. This was a lot of fun. Thanks to Taman Turner, our producer. Thanks to Anthony Smith, our producer with Raycom. Thanks to James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This has been Big 12 Radio on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. We're back on Monday to recap it all, but for now, we're out. Peace.
Here's a handoff and running off the left side. This Jaheim White slides to the 5. He's into the